Yo, what is up, everybody? It is Tuesday. It is just past 6 o'clock, so we're late like usual, but that's okay because we can stay in here as long as we want to. You guys
Better
are
late than
just
never, huh?
in time for this week's edition of the Sports Court. We got a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports. I mean, pieces are shaking and moving at every level. NFL, college, we're going to talk about it all. You know, we're going to get the Astros in here as they've fallen behind a very tough Red Sox team. But we're not going to sweat too much yet. There's a big game coming up. It starts at 7, and we're going to get all into that. But first, we have a very special guest with us tonight. And, Greg, you're going to take us in and introduce this guest, and you're going to give us a little history on his involvement with the show, because this is not the first time he has been on the Sports Court.
This guy here?
It's the first time here at Grade A Media with us, but it's not his
Grade
first
A
time on the
radio.
show.
Nah, Phil, this is my guy Phil right here, Phil Wilson. Phil has been a friend of the show, been a friend of mine for years and years and years. He's been on the show, what, 2 or 3 times, Phil?
3 times, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
3 times. I mean, right. Even before I met you, Eddie.
I'm a senior.
Yeah, he's a senior. He's a senior. Always has been great on the show. Fun to have him back. We've been trying to get him back for a while now. He's been trying to get back, but our schedules just have not meshed because, Phil, my friend, you have a son, Jace, that's in college now.
Yes, sir.
College freshman.
Yes, sir.
A college freshman doing some things at, what, Furman College?
Furman University.
Furman University. Tell me about that, man. First of all, welcome back to the
I
show.
appreciate it, man. Good to be back on the show. Good to be back here talking sports with 2 of the best in the city doing it. Yeah, the last few weeks, my son's a true freshman quarterback out at Furman University, and he got his first start last week in a rivalry game on the road. They played Wofford College, and he had a running touchdown, a throwing touchdown, led his team to a 42-20 victory. And so it's really, true freshmen really don't start unless you
I remember he was like this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he's 18 now, but he's out there balling. So we've been spending a lot of time now with him.
Good for him, man.
And so we happy about that and excited about that.
So he went out there and handled his business.
He's handling his
He
business
went out
right
there
now.
making a name for himself right off the bat, showing and proving, and he's on the field because of it.
Texas
so,
boys, man. That's
yeah,
what we do.
There it is. There it is. Much kudos to him, and I wish him definitely continued success, and I know he has great leadership as far as his dad is
real
concerned.
Quick, not to interrupt you guys, speaking of, getting into college, playing as a freshman, tell us a little bit about Pure Sports and what you guys do over there.
Man, Pure Sports, it's our baby. It's Fort Bend, greater Fort Bend, Missouri City area. We have 3 football academies, Pure Football Academy, Pure Quarterback Academy, and Pure DB Academy, where we're training some of the best athletes in the city. And if you're not the best athlete, you come with us and we'll make you one of the best athletes in the city. But we also help kids get scholarships. So that's one of our biggest things is not only are we training you to be the best athlete for your team, but we're also training you to hopefully get a scholarship and put yourself in best position to further your education and further your football playing career. So new thing this year with Pure Sports is the NIL now. So now all the college athletes are able to get paid. I wish I got paid.
Yeah, hey, likewise,
and
likewise.
you was at Ohio State. I know you
Yes,
wish you got
yes,
paid.
yes.
And so the kids
Definitely.
are able to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness right now. So we started a small management group where we're able to get branding deals and find financial opportunities for those guys while they're in college. So it's a cool deal, man, and we've been working on it and got a couple clients now. And it's pretty cool. So
Hey, man, keep up the good work with that, working with those youngsters. Now, let me ask you this. You being a former defensive back yourself, this guy played at the University of Cincinnati before making his way to TSU. Actually grew up in Cincinnati.
Yes, sir.
Grew up with some former college teammates of mine, some road dogs of mine in college, Vinnie Clark and Carlos Snow.
Yes, sir.
Grew up right around the corner from those guys, great guys. And, hey, so you being a former defensive back, when you do your training, what are some of the drills? And I heard you say you're going to make them better if they're not already good, which I know you are because I've seen you at work. As a matter of fact, what's the best drill in order for a defensive back to develop some great ball skills?
Well, ball skills, we basically just turning, running. We putting the ball up in the air, making sure they high pointing the ball pretty much. We use a tennis ball a lot during our drills pretty much for hand-eye coordination. The biggest thing with me is footwork, right? Coordination and footwork. If your feet can move, when your mind tells your feet to move, your body can move when you want to move, then you're going to be good at whatever position you play pretty much, right? Can't have what they say, slow feet don't eat, right?
Absolutely.
So we start from the ground up, a lot of footwork drills, a lot of speed ladder drills, a lot of coordination drills, and then we work into learning how to get in phase on wide receivers, right? Learning how your body in position not to open up the gate too fast, right? How to shuffle out, make sure your eyes on the hips, make sure you jab, press, however, and then we just build the kid up. You know, we train kids. DJ Hayden, first-round draft pick.
Your
Will
first
Jackson,
cousin?
yeah, is my first cousin. Trained him since he was young. Will Jackson, who's with the Washington Redskins, trained him. So we train some of the best DBs in the city, right? Not to add numerous high school kids that have gone on to major colleges and moved those on. So not only do we do DBs, but we also do the quarterbacks as well. And so, so it's been good. It's been good. It's been good.
That's
for the
awesome.
city.
Is there any type of technology like that? Because I know a buddy of mine runs a baseball academy, and it
Yep.
seems like the technology they use, it's changing like year to year. Is there some type of technology you guys use when you're evaluating these guys, or help them see the progress that they're making as they're getting better, aside from just what they do on the field?
Right. Well, I think the beautiful thing about that is we all have cameras in our hands every minute of the day, right? So every drill, we're recording every drill, and we're having instant feedback right there on the field, right? So, if it's a misstep or a misalignment or your eyes are in the wrong place, we're able to correct it right then and there. And then we have the film of the previous guys who've done it correctly, right? So not only can you see the correction for yourself, but we can show you the previous guys. And so that's really just it from our standpoint of technology, just being instantaneous with our feedback right there with the kids and letting them see exactly how to get better and how to improve at that point in time.
Hey, awesome stuff, man.
Hey, man, great stuff. And you're going to have those guys out there looking like Trayvon Diggs. You see what he's doing for the Cowboys right now.
Ballin'.
Or Dion or somebody. But, hey, great mentorship for those guys, and I'm sure you're going to build them from the inside out. And that's a great thing. Keep that going. Now, of course, me and Eddie Cox, my co-host Eddie Cox, we want to talk some Houston Astros. Now, they're down 2-1 right now. And, of course, there's a lot going on. Of course, there's a lot of NFL we're going to talk about. Of course, the NBA season starts tonight. So that's going to be fun. Appreciate it, Skrilla. The NBA season starts tonight. You have the Brooklyn Nets minus Kyrie Irving, fellas, against the Milwaukee Bucks, the championship Milwaukee Bucks. That game is going to kick off, it's going to tip off. But, you guys can listen to the sports court. You can have that game on in the background, just have the sports court turned up. But, of course, you have the Lakers and Golden State Warriors tonight. We'll touch on that as the show progresses. But first things first about the Astros. Now, real quick, before we get to the Astros, and we're going to talk, stay tuned for the Astros talk, because we definitely want to talk some Astros. Down 2-1, as Jim Rome would say, the great Jim Rome, the last couple of games, they've gotten their asses handed to them. Boston has opened up a can on those guys. So we'll talk about that. I want to get Eddie's take on that. But college football real quick. Now, this guy used to play at the University of Cincinnati. Now, you guys are
number 2, baby.
Yeah, you
number
guys
2.
are number 2. We're number 5 right now.
Baby.
We're
number 2. Hey, not only number 2, but we the best team in Ohio.
That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, this guy grew up a Buckeyes fan right here. This guy grew up a Buckeyes fan. Now, that's the thing right there, though. Eddie, let me ask you this. Now, when I watched the Iowa Hawkeyes, Iowa lost to Purdue 24-7 this past weekend. I knew Iowa was a fluke and a fraud. But I didn't want to come in here and jump on them because, Phil, you know what I want to do? Eddie, you know what I wanted to do? I want the Buckeyes to keep rolling, get their stuff together, win out.
Right.
And I wanted a fraud Iowa team to be right there waiting for us in the championship game.
Right.
Ranked number 2.
Right.
And we beat them like 58
and bang
10. So I hate that they had to go ahead and lose right now. But, hey, it is what it is with Iowa. They just don't have the playmakers at this point. Kirk Ferentz is a great coach, and he's done some great things with that Iowa team, but they were not a number 2 team in the nation. They were not even the number 2 team in the nation. Purdue did everything they wanted to them. They could not contain Purdue's quarterback, Purdue's receivers. Purdue was getting anything they wanted on the offensive side of the ball against that ballyhooed Hawkeyes defense. So Iowa, I hate the fact that Iowa lost. I really do. Now, Ohio State has Indiana this upcoming week. Now, here's the thing, Phil, right here. If we win out and slaughter Michigan, like I think we're going to do, as great as Michigan has been this year, as great as Michigan has been this year, and Jim Harbaugh has that team, some of that talent is talent. It's starting to, that talent was simmering, and he was getting who he wanted in there and continuing to build this program. The fact that Michigan stuck with him, I know Eddie will say, I know Eddie said, Who else were they going to get? You know,
First of all, we call them Michigan, man. You know, we don't announce it.
Michigan.
They don't
really,
get the M.
Really, we're not even supposed to say their name.
Right, the team up north.
The team from up north.
The team up north, man.
You know, but I'm gonna give them kudos for having a great start of the season.
I just think Iowa, and it's surprising to me, was probably reading on press clippings, right? For a Kirk Ferentz team, I mean, he's been there forever, and his teams usually play up to the bell, right? I mean, and they really spoilers. Like, I remember a couple teams went in there at night, you know, and lost. Penn State lost a couple years ago there at night, yo. So if you ranked and you go in there, it's going to be problems. So it just amazed me that they actually played so poorly. But
defense couldn't create pressure.
But like you said, the way the schedule is this year, you kind of want them to go and be in that championship game, right?
Yeah.
So Ohio State, because we got to avenge that loss to Oregon, right? Like we have to find a good team, and so we got them. Michigan State's undefeated. Penn State's coming up.
Now, don't confuse them. You say we because you're a Buckeye through and through because you grew up in Cincinnati.
Right.
But this guy won't sit. Now, he played at Cincinnati, so you know he wants Cincinnati to go. Now, here's the thing,
Yeah,
Eddie.
we got to go undefeated, too.
Here's the thing, Eddie. That's the thing. You all are going undefeated now. We have to handle Indiana this week, which we will, but then we have Penn State at home, and we'll see. Again, we have Michigan, and we have Michigan State.
Right,
so
we
if we win out, our chances look good, but the only thing is Oklahoma is still there. And who knows, again, when you lose a game, like I said, when we lost against Oregon, then you're at the mercy of the committee.
Right.
And that's the thing. So that Sunday when they go in there and it's like everyone is like, oh, Ohio State won out, they're automatically in. No.
Right.
I've seen that before, and I will not go into that Sunday feeling that way. It'll be like 50-50. Like, they should get in, but I wouldn't be surprised they didn't because committee, for one, Cincinnati, Eddie. Cincinnati. Do you think they get in? I think this is the year they get in regardless of what's going on elsewhere.
Hey, you know what's going to really hurt Cincinnati this year, unfortunately?
Hold on right quick. Let me get Eddie's take on that.
Go ahead.
If Alabama and Georgia play in the SEC championship,
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
Because, like you said, if Ohio State runs the table, Ohio State's in.
You would think.
Now you got Georgia and Alabama. If Georgia's number one going into that game, and Alabama just happens to beat them,
right?
They still gonna put both of them.
They're both going.
Well, I said that automatically.
That automatically shoots Cincinnati in the tail because now you're looking at Oklahoma, right? If Oklahoma runs the table, you like, okay, we still out, right? So it's unfair because if you're number two and you run the wire in a season like this, number two. I don't care what Georgia. Hey, Alabama and Georgia had their chance to be undefeated, and they lost one, and it just kind of is what it is. Go ahead, Eddie.
No, I think they've got an excellent chance, honestly, and it really depends on where college football wants to go with their playoff format.
Yep.
Because if you don't get Cincinnati in, they go undefeated, and they're ranked number 2.
When do you ever get somebody from
then you're never going to.
There
so
it
then
is.
you
That's
have
my point.
to expand because let's just face it.
Yeah.
You know, eventually there's going to be more of these programs that are like fringe programs that are going to be getting better
and
be able to compete. And then you're going to have years like this where you've got a team like Georgia, you've got teams like Alabama that are going to beat up on each other and still are going to be deserving of a playoff spot.
Right.
So how do you fit, 6 qualifying teams into 4 spots? You can't.
Right.
So they're going to have to change something. But I don't think there's any way, if Cincinnati's undefeated, I don't think there's any way they don't at least get that number 4 spot.
Well, that's it.
And this is the thing I was thinking, too, though. Cincinnati played great against Georgia last year in the bowl game.
Okay.
We was one drive away from winning the game.
That's a great point.
Right.
Great point.
So if you come to the committee and you say Georgia, Alabama, and Cincinnati still sitting at 2, you got to. I think you put them in just because they played Georgia and showed that they can beat or compete with an SEC team, right? So
hopefully they will definitely be aware of that, and they will consider that, even though it was last season.
Right, but that's what they always say. You got to get for those teams. You need a 2-year resume.
That'll prove that they're legit.
Right. Central Florida had to win 82 games just to get.
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, here's the thing. I just think the same thing me and Eddie just said. I just think this is the year of Cincinnati. You can't blame that the conference is not good enough or this or that because if you leave an undefeated team out, and Luke Fickell, he has these guys. But
they don't even look like a regular team that's not a Power 5.
I know, and
like
that's the thing. And to your point about
team.
them playing Georgia last year, that bodes well for them as well. But I just think the fact that they look as good as they look, and the fact that they beat Notre Dame, and who was Ballyhoo coming into the season. So if they run the table, I just think the committee will face too much public criticism to leave them out again.
But like Eddie said, they got to make a decision on how they want to look from this point.
Yeah.
Because
Eddie stole my thunder right there.
right.
And I threw it to him before I made the comment.
Put them to the test. Like, okay, committee, do you really want to be known as a fair committee?
Absolutely.
Like, I know it ain't your fault that Clemson sucks. Right? The committee would love for Clemson to look good. And make it easy for them. So Cincinnati is making it easy for them because they're dominating people. Their defense is not giving up nothing. Their offense is explosive. They don't have a weakness. And physically, they look the part.
Yeah, they do.
They're not a trick team where they do all these tricks and stuff and win off. Oh, they going to pound you.
They're physical.
Right. They're going to pound you.
Yeah.
And there's something to be
nice
said,
game
too, about, this is season you put on paper. That's what you put on film,
Yep.
It's not, we get together in this committee or we get in this room and we decide the 4 teams that we'd all like to see play or who we think would be the best games, or we get the best ratings. If they put a championship season together, they deserve to be in the playoffs. Then they need to go. They deserve to be in the playoffs.
And
otherwise, schools out there, they're going to know that when it comes down to it and it gets down to the nitty gritty, and this committee gets together, they're only going to choose schools that they think
they like.
I mean, you can't trust
be,
them.
The money makers.
You can't
that shouldn't
trust
be
them.
what it's about.
And you know what?
It's about standing.
And me playing at Ohio State, and the thing about it is, to be honest with you, I've been wanting Cincinnati to lose.
Right.
For the simple fact, I've been saying all season long, they will not keep Cincinnati out this year. Based on the fact that it's just not a good look. It's not a good look.
Not if they run the table.
Right. If they run the table, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Plus, they'll be deserving. So the way I was looking at it is, how does that relate to Ohio State? Of course, that's how I'm looking at it. So again, you have Bama. You have Georgia, who's, they're so good on defense. It's like, it's crazy. It's like, wow.
Right.
That defense is very physical. They look like a professional team. And it's almost like, can you score 10 points against Georgia? Now, we'll see when they play Alabama moving forward. But to your point about Alabama getting in as well, I even made a comment, which I don't believe now since Cincinnati's going to run the table.
Right.
And it looks like OU may finally get through they've gotten through the gauntlet of their schedule, surviving UT and beating a couple of other teams that they probably should have lost to early on. Now they have a new quarterback in there that's balling, so he doesn't seem like he's going to relinquish that role. So they seem like they're going to get in. So even if Alabama plays Georgia tight and lose a close game in that championship game, I wouldn't be surprised if they still put Alabama in.
Right.
The only thing is now this year that would not be a good look with 2 losses if you got UC.
Right.
If you got UC. But in normal years, they would put Alabama. I don't trust the committee, man. That's why it's all speculation right now.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes, but I'm on record as saying that Cincinnati, if they run the table, they should get in. And if that means that's at the expense of my Buckeyes, I hate to say that, I have to agree with it because they just deserve it this year. But hopefully we can run the table from here on out and win out and put ourselves in a great position.
We talked about that a lot, Greg, how whenever they lost to Oregon, that we felt like this was just the way things were shaking out this year. It was going to be really hard for them to climb back in and get, make a legitimate case for one of them spots because there's just so many good teams up at the top. You got Cincinnati performing the way that they are, and then we just talked about Georgia and Alabama. And then,
and OU is not going to lose.
Don't forget
but they don't play a championship game.
Yeah, and then don't forget about, about Michigan, who y'all brought up
from
earlier.
up north.
They're putting together the best season they've probably had under Jim Harbaugh, and that's setting up for a showdown between Ohio State and Michigan.
Well, Eddie is going to keep me humble with Michigan. He's going to try to at least, because the thing about it is Michigan is playing a lot better this year, and we do go to Michigan. The last game of the season, like every year. And so at some point, like I've said.
What do they say? Styles make fights, right?
But here's the thing. Here's why I say I think we'll still slaughter them. Here's my point. The only chance, and I mean this when I say this, the way Ohio State is playing right now with that weaponry, and they're even turned it up on the defense side of the ball, the only chance Michigan has in Michigan this year against Ohio State is if it's inclement weather. If it's inclement weather, I'm talking about rain to slow down that speed and that passing attack and that run game.
All our receiving core get hurt.
But that's my point. That's my point.
But
it's inclement weather.
Though.
Yeah, it should be. Hey, but let's not too much time on college football.
I feel like it's set up for a situation if things kind of stay chalked the way they are now. Ohio State goes in there and beats Michigan in Ann Arbor, and then the committee just feels like, we're just going to leave both y'all's asses out.
That's what
you
I'm
didn't show
about.
up against Oregon. You didn't show up against Ohio State. We're going to leave both y'all out of it.
But in times past, though, when you lose early like that, and the good thing about the Big Ten is you had a championship game.
Right.
And they play a separate division schedule, so you're usually going to have a good team on the other side that you're playing.
That you're playing
so,
in the
so that's
championship
going to
game.
replace the Oregon game, right?
Right.
Plus, Oregon is kind of up and down anyway. They'll win one week,
But if
they
they win
lose,
out,
and
I think they've only
they'll
lost
probably
one, right?
they'll probably win that conference.
So they'll be ranked. So and then when we played Oregon, what were they in the top 10? I think. So I don't know if they'll
How cool
take
would
that.
it be to see Ohio State and Cincinnati play in the first round of the playoffs?
That would be cool. That would be cool. Again, but I really want to see. Now I talk all that about Ohio State's offense. We see what Alabama did last year. I think Ohio State's offense may be even better this year with Travion Henderson in the backfield,
that back is
the all-world
the
running
truth.
back, and the way they're using him. But I want to see them go up against Georgia before I really get too confident. Because Georgia is for real. They're like a pro team playing away on
they got
defense.
an NFL
Hey, but
defense.
look, yes, they do. Yes, they do. Them in Alabama every season. You look at those players on the field, they look like a pro team.
They do.
I mean, they really do. Hey, but let's move on. Eddie Cox, what is going on with our loved Astros? Of course, not loved around the nation. I'm sure it's a lot of people around the nation who love to see what's going on with the Astros right now, giving up grand slam after grand slam. What is going on, my friend?
You know, I've never seen anything like that. You know, it's never happened before. But I've just the way Boston's been able to hit and take advantage of the mistakes the Astros have made, and with runners on base, you get 2 grand slams on Saturday. You get another one last night.
Wow.
And if you're the Red Sox right now, you feel like you're rolling. But I'm not going to count the Astros out just yet. I know not a lot of people in this city are. The bat's got to get hot. But for me, it's situations with this baseball team is where it's hurting them the most. You're giving a Red Sox team that they know they're not as good as the Astros, but they have.
I don't think they know that.
Listen, they have a real home field advantage in Fenway. I mean, that place is crazy. And I know whenever Houston played Chicago, you got a little bit of that feeling. Whenever they had that blackout over there on the south side over there in Chicago,
Right.
But it's even turned up another notch here in Boston. But whenever you get an opportunity like the Astros got, the bases were loaded. Urquidy didn't have his best stuff. He started out pretty good, but then he started to walk some people. He got into trouble. He gets a ground ball double play to end the inning, and your best player on defense doesn't handle it.
Right.
So to me, that kind of set the tone, and then right after that, you get a grand slam. It just demoralized this baseball team. I mean, we know they can put up runs in bunches when they want to, but it's kind of hard to stay, let's say, I don't know, to keep playing with juice whenever you know you're so far down that, you could have some of your best players come through with 2-3-run home runs, and you're still looking up at the White Sox who have 9, 10, 11, or 12
the Red
runs.
Sox, right.
Red Sox.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, is the pitching good enough to keep the game close? Right, because we know the Astros is gonna be scrappy. What was it last year? Down 3-0 to the Rays, and came back and forced the game 7. Right, they're gonna be scrappy.
Right.
But can the pitching get hot enough to at least keep the game close? If you can keep it to 3 to 4 runs, where their bats can come into play later on in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning, they can get the moving bases and stuff like that. Now we can play, right? But like you said, if we're gonna keep,
Well, that's the thing.
spotting them 8 points off 2
Well,
grand
yeah.
slams,
Well,
we can't come back from 8 or 9 points, and the pitching is not strong enough to. Because now you're talking about you give up 2 grand slams, you using 3 pitchers
that's
just
ball
to
game.
stay,
That's ball game.
competitive
Ball
for the
game in
game,
the playoffs.
right?
I don't care how potent your offense is in the playoffs. That's just too many runs to overcome and dig yourself out
And
of
then
a
you're
hole
getting
with.
the crowd. They're going to be in it the whole time. Right?
Right,
They're not going to be able
right.
to. A 3-run home run like what Tucker put up. What was it in the 5th or in the 4th inning
Right.
last night? In any other situation, that may quiet a crowd down a bit, but they're not even feeling that when you're up 9 runs already. You know,
Right.
that 3-run home run does nothing to quiet the crowd, and it just feels like it's really hard for the Astros to get their momentum.
I mean,
going.
especially in a place like Fenway, and the thing. Hey, Dusty Baker actually referred to it. He compared the starting pitching woes to Groundhog Day. A recurring nightmare.
Right.
Well, look,
A real recurring nightmare.
It's funny because you know what?
They have not total combined in these 3 games. The pitching staff have not totaled 6 innings.
No, they got
the
5.
starting pitchers.
5 innings.
5 innings. I mean, just think about that. And what did I say coming into the season? All during the season, when you would ask me about the Astros, in the playoffs, the first thing I would always say, and of course it goes without saying, pitching matters in the playoffs, but the only thing that I was concerned about, and the only reason I had trepidation in making my pick a lot with the Astros, because even though I picked them, is because I didn't know how the pitching was going to fare. I did not know how the
Right.
pitcher was
And
going
let's
to fare.
be honest,
and to
it
this
was
point,
more
they have
about-
not fared well. And the starting hitters, the top 3 hitters for the Astros, they can't go 5 for 36 as well. So, but the thing about it, what it does to your psyche when you're seeing your pitchers give up these grand slams, and even though these guys have been there, like you said, when you're out of it 8 runs, it just does something to the hitter's psyche.
Yeah, I mean the team collectively as a whole, you lose a whole lot of steam.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about the starting pitch, and I mean when we used to talk about it months ago,
Mm-hmm.
we were more worried about the bullpen. You know, then they went and made all these moves.
Right.
You bring in Maton, you bring in Graveman. You know, the other Garcia, Yimi. You know, you add all these additions to the bullpen, and now they seem to be faring pretty well. Where you're hurting is on starting pitching. To me, it's on Dusty Baker, and this is why. Okay, in that White Sox series, you remember when the game got postponed? What was it? Game 4 got postponed.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, what did Dusty decide to do? He decided to go to McCullers on a day short rest. And what happened? McCullers comes out of the game with forearm tightness.
Well,
Right.
you've heard me
Right.
say
Comes
it.
out of the game with
That's
forearm
what Dusty
tightness,
has
and
been
now
known
he's
for
not
in the past.
available to you in this series. That's huge
Yeah.
because I felt like with the momentum the Astros were playing with, they didn't necessarily have to go to their
Yeah,
ace
the loss
there.
of McCullers is huge.
You know, I think he was feeling. I think
It
Dusty
really
was kind
is.
of feeling a little bit of pressure from the White Sox. He knows you're playing in a Rockets environment,
Right.
You know, but you still had that 1-game cushion where you can come home and then you can lean on Lance if you need to. I think he went to Lance prematurely.
He
and it cost
overreacted.
him.
But Eddie, have you not heard me say on here about now? He did the same thing to Mark Pryor and Kerry Wood, but have you not heard me say on this show that that's what Dusty Baker has to overcome this season, opposed to other years, is knowing when to pull pitchers, when to put pitchers in, and not burning them up. And that's exactly what he did in the McCullers situation. Now you have McCullers out. That doesn't help as well. But when you have these guys, they're giving up walks. And the thing about the Red Sox, they're doing all the little things to get themselves in a position to get that big strike. Like
Yeah,
that, boom,
but
that
it
grand
seems
slam.
like Dusty is always kind of try to
Taking their pitches.
trade points for pitching sometimes, right? Like
Right.
he's like, okay, we got enough bats to be within 3 or 4, like I said, and still be able to play. And if like you said, we the bullpen is we got a lot of middle guys, right? Middle relievers. So if
Right.
I get somebody in there and give me 4 or 5 and keep it close, now my middle relievers, they really my starters because my offense can kind of kick in 5 or 6.
Right.
Well, in the playoffs,
As long as it's still close. you know?
exactly. I was gonna say right.
No
The
doubt. Those
playoffs,
still
like you
close.
said,
That's the point.
it's like an avalanche, right? It's a snowball. Once, especially for the Red Sox, experienced teams like that, when they get to hitting and they get to hitting and they get to hitting, it really don't stop. It don't matter who you put in there, right?
And they have a lineup, man.
Yeah,
Bogarts,
yeah.
Martinez,
Yeah.
I mean,
Devers.
And
Devers.
then you
Right.
start talking
Yeah.
about stuff like when you go to Boston, now you're talking about playing in the elements now, right?
Verdugo.
The game is totally different now when you're up there,
Schwarber.
right? And so, we got guys swinging for the fence because we're trying to catch up with runs.
See,
Right.
now that's the thing with
Right.
Altuve right
Right.
now. Altuve is a guy being a leadoff hitter,
Right.
and even though, again, they're down in the game a lot, but still, they still have to stay the course, and they have to manufacture base runners
Right.
to do things. They're going up there swinging for the
Swinging for the
fences.
fences, right.
Altuve, if you
Instead
look
of
at him
moving
now,
people.
if you look at him now, he's not trying to push the ball a certain way or take what the pitcher gives him. He's swinging for the fences on every pitch.
Right.
And with him, Brantley is a guy who you really think would be disciplined enough to really make the pitcher work. Now, that's what the Astros have been known for all year. They're real good in making the opposing pitcher work and getting deep into counts.
They did
Right.
that against the White Sox.
And they
it
did that
paid
against the White
dividends.
Sox.
Right.
Now they're panicking, and the top 3 guys, Bregman as well, they're not doing what 5 for 36, like I said.
Do you think them guys need to change the lineup up?
Well, that's something to think about. I've heard that thrown around. Now, I don't know if Dusty will do that. What's the lineup
Well,
tonight,
you
Eddie?
can't
You
go-
see it on
I'll
there?
pull it up here in just a
Maybe
second.
not. If they lose tonight, maybe so.
Right.
You're going to have McCormick in the lineup at center field. You had Jose Siri go last night. McCormick's going to be the one to go this time. I like his bat a lot better than Siri's. You may lose a little bit on the
They
defensive
just brought
end.
Siri up from the AAA, didn't they?
Yeah, late in the year.
Yeah.
But I definitely think
25 years
McCormick
old.
has shown that in big moments they're not too big for him. He's really good with the stick. I think that's going to be a little bit of a boost there. You have him batting in front of Maldi. But
Maldonado.
I wish I could.
Who's not batting well right now as well.
Right now, they got Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Alvarez, Carrera,
That's the top 3.
Tucker, Gurriel, and McCormick and Maldonado.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty much how it's been.
basically
Same,
the
yeah.
only thing different
Yeah.
is
It's basically the
McCormick.
same, right.
You just got to count on your guys to get a bead on the starting pitcher early. If you allow the starting pitcher of Boston to get deep into the game, let them get 4, 5, 6 innings.
Oh, yeah.
Then they're gonna be
tough.
set. You got to get them. You got to get that pitcher out of there. You got to get them making changes, and you got to get them to eat some innings up in that bullpen. Because these guys have been able to come in fresh, and they've been dominant.
Hey, and they're feeling themselves right now. Like you said, they have the fans behind them, and they have championship pedigree. They just won the World Series in 2019. I mean, make no mistake about it. That's why when you asked me a couple of weeks ago or last week, did the Red Sox have a chance? I'm like, absolutely they have a chance. And the way they're hitting right now, they're feasting on the Astros pitching right now. And the Astros better get it together tonight, and they better get some length out of Zach Greinke. Hopefully, now I don't know what to expect from Zach Greinke. Maybe he's the type of pitcher that's at least going to keep the ball in the ballpark.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Right.
Well, he's known for getting a lot of ground balls, and he can be a savvy pitcher and a smart pitcher. And Boston is feasting on those fastballs. And the thing that the Astros are doing, the pitchers, they're getting behind in these counts, and Boston knows that it's almost like they're tipping off their pitches, but they're getting behind in the counts and getting in stressful situations, and Boston is sitting on the fastball. Yeah. And these guys are throwing balls right down the heart of the plate, and they're teeing off on them. And not only are they teeing off, like you said, it's unprecedented that a team in 2 games will hit 3 grand slams.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
They won't overpower Boston with pitches, right? So,
No.
You just got to play behind your defense, let the ball get put on the ground,
Astros are normally
play.
a good defensive
Yeah,
team.
play behind
Great
your
defensive
defense
team.
and get out the inning, right? Greinke has a 4.5 ERA right now, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
He's not the Zach Greinke of the
Right,
years.
right.
So
So-
he's dealing with some injury issues.
And
but
right.
You know what? I would have liked to have seen them go to him a lot earlier.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't have the arm to go late into the game. He's
Right.
not going to give you a
Get 3 or 4
7-inning
innings out of it.
Right.
Like he did last year in the playoffs for you. However, what he's not going to do there or go in there is do some of the things you're seeing some of these younger pitchers do,
Right.
which is get rattled
Right.
and tip your pitches. Because let's face it, if there's anything that the Red Sox we know they do well, it's data collection.
Yep.
Okay, if we talk, and you talk about Dusty Baker and how he's kind of in between. Yeah, he likes to use analytics, but he also goes against them. I think that hurt him when it comes to starting Luis
What
Garcia.
does your eyes
'cause
tell
everything
you?
tells you, if you look at the analytics, Luis has he's pitched too many innings this year.
Right.
He's probably better served out of your bullpen,
Yep.
not starting in the playoffs.
Right.
And you got a little bit of a taste of that when you saw him go against the Red Sox. They're able to jump on him early, and actually he leaves with an injury, because he's pitched too much. I would like to just see Zach and his experience there in that spot instead. We could be looking at the series set a little bit differently now if Dusty had done that. You can't go back now,
Right.
but I think tonight Zach is going to show you why his veteran leadership, his experience, how big that's going to play a role or could have played a role earlier in the season or earlier in the series, I should say, had they decided to start him.
Well,
Right.
the Astros, I totally agree. And you know what? The Astros experience as far as the offense is concerned, and this high-powered offense, what they're going to have to do is in that first inning, get off, maybe get 2 or 3 runs on the board, settle the pitcher down. Maybe that'll take some of the pressure off of him, and he doesn't feel like everything is on his shoulders at that
Right.
point. He's playing with the lead, and so they have to uphold their end of the bargain early and often and put some runs on the
Yeah,
board.
just move the bases, man.
Right,
You
right.
know, move
Play
the bases.
smart, play situational baseball.
Yep.
So what's going on so we'll see what happens
Does it go
tonight. I
7?
think does it go
Does it go
7?
7?
I think it goes 7.
Who takes it in 7?
The Stros. I think the Stros gonna take it.
He's gotta go with the
Stros. I gotta go with the Stros. I pick the Stros to win it all.
He's
Right.
seeing people get run out of town left and right. You don't want to be the next one on the.
All right.
But look, if
Gotta go with my
the
Stros.
Astros are going to win this one, Zach's
I'ma
going to
roll
go
with
in there, and he's going to have to knock the biscuit wheels off the gravy train, if you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Yes,
Because
he
he's going to
is.
get to go in
Yeah.
there, and he's going to have to look dominant
Yeah.
early on.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to get them hitters thinking.
Yep.
And once you get a hitter thinking, like really thinking, that's whenever you've got an advantage.
Right.
Because it's hard to think and hit a baseball at the same time.
Right.
A lot of hitters, they're just guessing.
Yeah.
But when you got a
See
young
ball,
guy in
hit
there
ball.
tipping pitches and stuff, you got an idea what's coming. Or like with Urquidy last night, you knew his breaking ball wasn't working.
Yeah.
He couldn't hit it for a strike.
Right.
So when he needs a strike, guess what's coming? And
Yeah.
they were all over it.
Right.
Zach's not going to be that guy tonight. So I'm predicting the Astros win tonight. But let's just hope that I'm curious to see, because this will be our first time getting a look at Zach going more than 1 inning since we've heard that he's had a little bit of an issue that's not going
Right.
to allow him to pitch as deep as he normally would pitch in a ball game.
Yeah.
Well, let's get them
Well,
bats going,
hopefully
Stros.
he
Let's get
has
them
the
bats going.
experience, right? The bats, and hopefully his experience as far as pitch location and studying batters, knowing what these guys like to do, what pitch they might be looking for, certain batters at certain times, and counter that. Use his experience and really get out ahead of the game. with the Boston Red Sox tonight. Now, in the other series,
don't let real quick before we move on. Don't let this the 12-3, 9-5, all those runs. Don't even let those losses affect you.
Right,
we're
in the
not
card.
playing soccer. We're not playing in the aggregate. That doesn't matter. You could win tonight's game 1-0, and those
right back in
all
it.
those runs don't matter.
Absolutely.
Right back in it.
Absolutely. Just win, baby.
Because you see people, I mean, we're all on social media and stuff. People get demoralized, because they see the types of losses the Astros are enduring. But I know this baseball team in and out, and I know Carlos Correa and the leadership crew over there. They're not going to allow themselves to get down or feel like the Red Sox have their number, because they could very easily go put up a double-digit number themselves whenever they want to.
Every game's a one-game series.
Yeah, they can. And I was teasing my brother. I said after game two it was, I said the Astros got humbled up today. The Astros got humbled up today, meaning, Carlos Correa pointing at the wrist and all this and that, which I love. Yeah. I love the swag. I mean, hopefully, I hope he does it tonight as well. But it was just trash talk. Just kind of saying to myself, like, hey, if I was a Boston Red Sox fan, this is what I would be saying. We humbled y'all up tonight. Now you know that you guys can be beat. They were kind of riding high. Everyone was starting to feel real good about the Astros. And the Red Sox kind of came in, kind of underrated to a degree. Will the Red Sox beat the powerful Astros? Now I think the Astros know. And, of course, the pitching has a lot to do with that. And, of course, they're not going to waver as far as their confidence. But I was just making a point as, hey, the Astros now, they know that Boston is for real this year.
And I think we can agree that, Dusty Baker, when he makes some of these mistakes and, not going with the analytics, at the end of the day, he knows how to win.
Yeah.
Right?
He's won 5 division titles, only man
like
ever.
you said, Eddie, I mean, the team's experienced team. This is, like I said, they've been down before. Like every series, it seems like they're down, right. So I mean, this is kind of common territory for them, unfortunately, right? Like we would like to see them play a little more consistent and be on top and kind of lead more series and stuff like that. But I think this is they're used to this,
and
right?
It has
now
a
can
lot
they
to do
execute?
it has a lot to do with who's calling the shots over there for Boston.
Right.
Alex Cora is as familiar with this team
as
anybody in all of baseball.
Yes, he is.
He knows these hitters inside and out. He knows how they need to attack them when they approach the plate.
Yep.
He knows when he can get away with certain stuff. I mean, he just knows the team inside and out to a way where he's proven it in multiple times they faced each other in the ALCS. He's shown to have
part of the last World Series team.
Yes, he's shown to have a little bit of an edge when playing the Astros more than anybody else. You go, even going back, like you said, 2019. I don't think anybody was expecting a 5-game, shooing of the Astros, and that's what happened. Yeah. And now you kind of see this series unfolding almost the same way, where they still won in Houston, and then they've got the old 2-3-2 format. Right. They got 3 games at home in a row where you can really put the Astros, if not away, damn near on life support.
Absolutely. If Boston wins tonight, and the thing about Boston is now they played in the toughest division in baseball, in my opinion, Tampa Bay and the New York Yankees. And they flew under the radar all year because they were jocked in for position all year with those teams. And so people didn't really take notice of how good Boston still is. Now since you have New York out of the picture and Tampa Bay out of the picture, and these guys, now they feel like, okay, this is our time now. We go ahead and do what we have to do. They flew under the radar the whole season dealing with those other 2 teams. Now their talent and their experience is really showing through, and they're starting to gel at the right time. That's the most important thing. They're starting to gel at the right time. So we'll see. Now, in that other series, real quick, before we get to the NFL,
he's going to tell him right here,
talk a lot of
great
NFL.
job, but no
in other
need
series,
to do anything like
Braves
that.
have had 2 walk-offs, Eddie. In the last 2 games, they've taken a 2-0 lead over the Dodgers, the vaunted Dodgers with that high-powered offense. How have they done it, and do the Dodgers get back in it?
It doesn't look like it. Right now, Braves are up. I think it's
into right field.
Uh-oh.
Charging hard.
I thought it was later on tonight.
They are on right now.
Ball game is over. And the Red Sox have
So the Dodgers is losing again?
The Dodgers are down 5-2.
At home?
Yes, at home in the top of the 7th.
Wow.
And the Braves have 2 outs, runner on first.
I do not think the Dodgers will come back down from 3-0.
This is the baseball gods punishing the Dodgers. And it's not their fault.
There it is.
It's really not their fault, though, because I want to go back to the NLDS against the Giants, who they were unable to, throughout the season, get over the hump and surpass to get first place in that division. However, they did win the series, but did you see the way it ended on a check swing that wasn't even close?
Right.
And the umpire called him out. You hate to see a close series, a close game end
On
in
the
that
umpire
situation.
call
I mean,
With two evenly matched teams.
and you've got the go-ahead run at the plate.
At the
So
plate,
runners
yeah.
on base, go-ahead run at the plate, and the
Yep.
game ends like that. It just leaves a bad taste in
Right,
everyone's mouth.
right.
And maybe the Dodgers are paying
Yeah,
a little
you
bit
did
of the price
mention that.
for it. Yeah.
You
when we
did
talked
mention
on
that
the
to me
phone.
the other day. You
Divine
did, and that's
intervention, huh?
You just can't let. I mean, you just can't let a series end like that. You know, I mean, I feel like when that play, I don't know if you were watching it, Phil, but
and the Giants were at home.
yeah, when they pointed,
And I made a mistake last week. I said that they didn't have the names on the back of their jerseys. That used to be. I guess they do have them on the back of their jerseys now.
But when that catcher called for that, when he checked down to the first base umpire, I felt like that umpire might have been sitting there just thinking about, what he was going to get at Whataburger or what he was going to have to
Can't
eat.
do that in a
And the
situation
next
like
thing
that.
You know, he's got 30,000 eyes looking at him.
Right,
And
he
so
got
he
it all
gives
done.
him
He
the
rings them up.
fist.
He rings them up.
He give him
Right.
the
And
him
you
up.
would think, but you would think in a situation like that he would be coherent enough to know he's in San Francisco before you ring him up. You better know that you're at you're ringing up the guy that's his home.
Right. His home.
And if you're an ump in that situation and you don't know, you got to have, the humility to go over to somebody else in the crew and say, I didn't see it.
I didn't see
I
it.
missed
Yeah,
it.
help.
But he wasn't going to do
Help.
that.
Yeah.
And it was a terrible way for the series
Fell on the
to
sword
end.
for that one.
Eddie Rosario hit a scorching line
I
drive
was
last
watching
night.
that when that happened. That was a fantastic finish.
Yeah.
Scorching, and that's why
Now,
they didn't give him
Let
the-
me ask you this. I was a little surprised to see them pull, how you say his name, Glatterall? Mm-hmm. I was surprised to see them pull him when he's dealing 102 and seem to be shutting people down. They pull him, go with Jansen, and Jansen only lasts one pitch. Rosario belts it.
I think Jansen's a bit
into the
overrated right
outfield.
now.
I mean, he hasn't been.
I really
lately,
do.
He hasn't been good, particularly in the postseason in big moments.
He puts up his
he
numbers.
He has been he's underperformed.
Right.
The Astros got a hold of him. Back in 2017. I know we're going back
Yeah,
a ways.
I was gonna say I don't remember too many times him going in there just shutting somebody down
Well,
and then coming out, right? Like he's been touched every
But he's
time
noted
he
as
goes
a
in there,
great
pretty
closer.
much.
Yeah, now he's noted as a great closer. He puts up the numbers throughout the year, throughout the season. But I always see him, like you're saying, I always see
Playoffs
him.
is different though.
Bye y'all, bye y'all, bye. I
But
mean,
they couldn't touch Glatterall. I don't know why they took him out. I mean,
because he's their guy. He's the great Kenley Jansen.
Jansen. Yeah, well.
So, hey, and it's surprising. It's very surprising. I'm very surprised that the Braves, I didn't mention the Braves last week. I said it would be the Giants or the Dodgers against the Astros. The thing about the Braves, I'm surprised that they're doing this without Ronald Acuna Jr. Now, that goes to show you how talented they are. Freddie Freeman, of course, he's going to do his thing. Austin Riley, the guys we've talked about, Rosario. But to do this without a guy that's probably noted as the third best player in baseball when he's healthy, a 5'2" player, Ronald Acuna Jr., who was probably on pace to win an MVP this year, to be doing this without Ronald Acuna Jr. is very impressive. So we'll see how that series unfolds. But moving on to some NFL.
And there's one more thing I want to mention: the Braves tonight. I'm not sure if he's still out there. They probably already pulled him. But Charlie Morton was the starter. And if you notice, there's a trend here with wherever that guy goes, they find themselves playing in World Series.
That's real.
It's one of those things that I noticed. He's one of those guys. Like, I mean, you can call
brings
him.
that good
He's
vibe.
like a big shot Bob, like a Robert Ory. But
Right.
he is a championship piece. And man, I sure would have wished there was a way for the Astros to keep
He's a good
him
pitcher.
in house.
He's a good
especially
pitcher.
going. He was really good early on. Had some struggles, but man, since he's come back, since he's been in Houston and left Houston, he's been dominant. He's been an ace.
Well, the
pretty
thing
much everywhere
about it, he
goes.
has a variety of pitches. So he's not just a one-pitch type of guy. Charlie Morton, he has a lot of movement on his pitches. So he's a guy that hitters going to have to deal with. And we already know that hitting the baseball is the hardest thing to do in sports, period. Like I always said.
Right.
How many sports can you play where you fail 7 out of 10 times and that's considered good?
And that's great.
You batting 300. Yeah, that's
That's
great.
great.
That's great. So that shows you how hard it is to hit a baseball. But moving
Right.
on to some NFL. What about those Cowboys?
What about the Cowboys?
What about those Cowboys?
What about the Cowboys?
Man,
I want to hear Eddie tell me about them.
hey,
What about the Cowboys?
you cannot deny that right now. I mean, they're the hottest team in football. There's just
Yeah.
no doubt about it. And really, they're the hottest
Along with the
defense
Ravens.
in football. Trayvon Diggs. I mean, I feel like how the hell did I not know he was this good? You know, I mean, I knew he was good, but
Right.
I didn't know he was this damn good.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And, I mean, he's just been magnificent. And then on top of that,
He's a ball
I was
hawk.
gonna say, obviously, the league didn't think he was this good either because
They keep throwing his
testing
way.
him. They keep
And I
testing
said
him,
last
right?
week, at what point, and I like the fact that Mac Jones, Eddie, I like the fact that Mac Jones went right back at him.
Because that's his homeboy. They went to Alabama together.
That, and you know what? But that's great coaching. And let me tell you why that's great coaching. Now, of course, the Cowboys ended up winning that game 35-29. Dak went off for 445 yards. The Cowboys moved the ball. They really just wore down the pass. They moved the ball up and down the field all game. And what happened was Travion Diggs on that interception. And the thing I like about Travion Diggs, not only his ball skills and his instincts, but the fact when he catches it, he thinks like Deion.
So-
he wants to take it to the house.
Right. So you know, he was a receiver like his brother first.
Right. A former receiver.
So Nick Saban made him change the defensive back, and there's a whole article out there about a week ago about that, how he was mad, when he
Yeah,
first
he's pissed
got
off.
moved over there
I
to
got
DB,
you.
and I mean, if Nick Saban tells you to move to DB, he probably gonna send you to the NFL.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
At
it's
some
just
point.
right. I mean, he's
Right.
not gonna tell you to move to DB and don't think you
Unless
got
he
that
sees
skill
something
set to
in
go
you.
next level. Right?
Absolutely. Real
But
talk.
to
Real
your
talk.
point, he sees the routes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you say a ball hawk, like he knows the routes. He sees the routes. He understands the
He sees
timing,
everything unfolding.
Right? And then his
Because
length.
of him playing receiver,
Right.
you're
Then
right.
his length is like, I don't even really have to do much. Right? I just got to be in position,
6'1",
see it. And
right.
then once I get the ball, it's a wrap.
It's a
right?
wrap. I like his mentality once he gets
And
the ball.
he's actually more physical.
Everybody don't
than,
have that mentality.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's actually more physical than most guys
He
would
is.
think.
He is.
Even though he's a
can
big
tackle.
corner, but he's physical.
But I thought he could have been a great safety as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've really been surprised on how great he is at cornerback this year. He's faster than I thought. And like you said, he sees the routes because he played receiver.
Yep.
And his ball skills, his hand placement, the way he places his hands, he just knows. He's a ball hawk, and his instincts are tremendous. But what I like about him, once he gets the ball, he's thinking about taking it to the house for a touchdown. A lot of defensive backs, they're just happy with the interception.
Right.
And they just want to fall to the ground or
Right,
whatever.
right.
He's like, I'm trying to put points on the board.
He is everything that they thought they was getting in Claiborne a couple years ago when they drafted Claiborne. Right. He is everything that
Speaking
they
of
thought they was
Claiborne,
getting in Claiborne.
speaking of Claiborne out of LSU, I want to get y'all take on Ed Orgeron real quick in a second before we go back to some NFL. Ed Orgeron being ousted by LSU at the end of the season. Speaking of Claiborne, who's from LSU, but the Cowboys, real quick, I like what they're doing on both sides of the ball. Of course, they're off this week. What concerns me, now I like what CeeDee Lamb was able to do as well. Big play after big play. Dak throwing that third down conversion to him on 3rd and 24. So the Cowboys, but what I was saying about Mac Jones real quick though, him going back at Trayvon Diggs, what that showed, that was great coaching.
Yeah.
Because you're going to use his aggressiveness
against him.
He's probably out there feeling himself too. You're playing on his psyche. He's probably out there saying, I know they're not going to challenge me again.
Right.
I've been having pick six after pick six every
Right.
game.
Right.
Just had one to
Right.
take the lead. I know damn well they're not coming back my way.
Came right back at him.
And they came right back at him and torched him.
And really, what I've been impressed probably the most with, because
That light went
if
out
I'm being
again.
completely honest, when we were going back and forth about Dak and the contract, like I knew this was Dak Prescott that you were eventually going to get.
Right.
Once everything around him sort of settled down, you get the head coach that you're going to have for a while in there.
Right.
You let Kellen Moore really, get his hands on Dak Prescott and get him immersed in that offense. You could see the signs that this was the kind of quarterback you're going to get.
But-
he was worth the money that they fought with him for.
Right. And having Zeke healthy, right? Right?
Yeah.
Like truth be told, if you look at the NFL right now, there's 3 complete teams, at least through the first 6 games right now. Arizona, Baltimore, and Dallas.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say you could add Buffalo to that, even though
Even though they lost last night, Tennessee. We can talk about that too.
Tennessee.
We can talk
That's
about
just
that too.
that's the biggest freak in the NFL doing his thing.
Rushed for
Right.
143 yards.
Right.
They could not
Right.
stop him in the second half.
Right, so those
Nobody can
4
stop him.
teams,
I know.
but all 4 of those teams had a component of, except for the Cardinals, had a component of the quarterbacks are steady and don't turn the ball over, right? And they're dynamic,
And they're
right?
great
They're
leaders.
not they're risk takers, right? They gonna be the quarterback. Dallas has a good run game. Dak has probably been the most efficient and most accurate of all these guys.
That's the thing I've been more impressed with
coming
him.
off an injury.
His accuracy.
He's with McCarthy. McCarthy gives you an opportunity to master the game of football, right? When he was with the Packers, yeah, Rodgers is cold. He has a skill set, but from a mental standpoint, when you know the playbook inside and out, your athletic ability don't even come into play until you have to use it, right? the ball is coming out on time. He's making decisions, and it doesn't matter whether they down by 4, down by 7, up by 14. They always have their foot on the gas pedal, right? They don't go into.
That's Kellen Moore.
That's Kellen Moore.
Right.
I love what Kellen Moore is
Right.
doing this year. He
Right.
has been a
That's
great
why I watch out. I
offensive
feel
mind.
like, you're going to see him get snatched up.
And you said
nobody's
maybe
gonna
by the
try-
Raiders.
I think the Raiders may very well go
Definitely
after
gonna look
Kellen
at
Moore
him.
and try to make him the next Sean McVay. But the point I was making is that I think that the real what's really changed things for the Cowboys is the speed they have on defense.
Yep.
They're getting after the quarterback, Randy Gregory. He's got 4 sacks on the season, and all of a sudden, he's finally paying dividends. After all the struggles
said
that
he
he
would
went
get 12.
through.
Yeah.
But they've
12
got
to
guys.
15.
You got guys at linebacker like Keanu Neal. This is a former safety, so he's almost like a hybrid guy. You add Parsons, who has speed. Van Der Esch has speed. There's just speed all
I don't think
over
they played
the
Parsons
field.
right. Yeah, Eddie, and you know what? I totally agree. The thing about it, Michael Parsons, in my opinion, did not show up last week. I don't think they put him in the best position to succeed. I think you let him get after the quarterback more times than not. I don't like when they drop him in coverage. Yeah, granted, he's a fast linebacker, but you let him wreak havoc and get after the quarterback more times than
By
not.
the nature of what they're doing on defense, they don't have to blitz him. They'll rush 4, and because you're not blitzing that extra guy in Parsons, that's what allows Diggs to sort of be like a free roaming, hitman, because he's all over the field.
Well, the first 4 or 5 games, they had Micah with his hand in the dirt.
Yeah,
Looking like Derek
Lawrence Taylor,
coming
somebody.
off
Derek
the
Thomas,
edge,
yeah.
right? Derek
Right.
Thomas dipping that shoulder, coming off the edge, and just making havoc, right?
He's still great wherever he plays, but I think he's better suited for that.
Yeah. Because the ball has to come out quick now. Now Trayvon Diggs is always in the play because the ball is coming out quick.
Right.
We're not waiting 4 or 5 seconds, chasing routes across the field and everything like that. And him dropping in coverage is a waste because now you can't cover for 4 seconds.
And then he's always kind of behind in coverage. Well, not always. It's almost like he's like a step behind in reading the tight end's route or something like that. Now, of course, he's going to get better once he starts playing there more consistently.
Right.
I mean, the guy's athletic ability is off the charts.
Yeah.
So, of course, he can roam sideline to sideline. So you want to give him that opportunity as well. You don't want to take that component away from the defense by just having him rush the passer.
When you
You
put
still
his
want to
hand
utilize
in
him in
the
other
dirt.
areas,
Yeah.
but I still think you should rush him more than they have been.
When you put his hand in the dirt, you're basically eliminating him having to think on the play. Like the moment
it.
that he sees that
See
offensive
ball,
lineman
get ball.
sped up,
Just go.
he knows
See
he's
ball,
He said
get
his
ball.
motto is see ball, get ball.
See ball, get ball.
That's what he said his motto is, too.
they're smart enough to know they invested very high draft capital in this guy. They want him to be that complete, outside linebacker for them.
Right.
So they're gonna-
And I do, too.
They're going to
I
put
do,
more
too.
on his plate in the terms of coverage and responsibility out in the open on the defense. As the weeks go by, they're going to put more and more on his plate. What they don't want to do is get him into this niche role where that's only what he's doing. Is Parsons on the field and he's going to rush the quarterback, because I think he's got a whole lot more to offer than that.
I agree with
Once
that.
you can get him
I agree with
playing
that.
the game and not having to think so much about what he's doing out there.
I agree with that. I mean, definitely, you want him in coverage using his athletic ability. Again, like I said, in roaming sideline to sideline. I just think there are a few more times throughout the game I thought that they would probably put him in pass rush situations where they don't. Now, a lot of that has to do with also the pressure that Randy Gregory is getting on the quarterback. So we'll see how things unfold. But I like what the defense is doing as a whole. Trayvon Diggs, the back end, Curse. What Curse has to learn how to do, the safety, number 27, Jerron Curse, he's a great find for the Cowboys. 6'3", can ball out. When he gets at that quarterback like that, he has to learn how to strip at the quarterback's arm and strip. There was a couple of times in that game where he actually could have probably gotten strip sacks, but instead he going at a place like trying to wrap the guy around the chest. When the guy was throwing the ball, you just strip the ball and you're causing a turnover. So once he gets that, he'll be just fine. But I like what the offensive line is doing. Connor Williams he still bugs me from time to time with some of his antics.
That holding on the screen, I'll never get over that. Right? How the hell you hold somebody on the screen?
Yeah, you're supposed to let him go. Let him go, man.
Hey, he had
but-
one dude the other day in a crucial situation. He just grabbed him like that, like, no, you are not getting to my quarterback. I'm like, man, that's ball game. You just took, but luckily, the Dak was able to rescue the team because that was a crucial holding penalty where he took the Cowboys out of field goal range. But Dak being Dak, doing what he does, hey, Dak was able to, and I like the running game. Again, I like what Dak is doing. He was able to bring us back in that game. We'll see what the Cowboys do moving forward. I think they're great for the remainder of the season. Dak has a strained calf. Before we move on, Dak has a strained calf that everything is flying under the radar right now about that calf, but he strained that calf on the last play of the game on that touchdown pass to C.D. Lamb. He limped into the locker room.
And
that's something that you don't want to play with.
There's a little bit of breaking news as DeMonte KZ arrested on DWI. So we'll see how that affects his availability. Probably not going to affect him for the weekend, but we'll see if there's any type of punishment coming down from the NFL based on their personal conduct policy. But this came down just a couple hours ago. I'm just now seeing it now. KZ, arrested early Tuesday morning on suspicion of DWI.
Wow. Now, real quick, before we talk some more NFL, talk Texans, of course, the Bills and the Titans, Arizona, Cleveland, any other games coming up this weekend you want to talk about. And we'll definitely touch on a couple of games tonight in the NBA before we leave. But we're good on time right now. But what do you guys think, real quick, harkening back real quick to college football just for a couple of minutes? Now, Jimbo Fisher says that he's going to stay at A&M. I like what he's doing. I like what he's building at A&M. Now, he said the key thing he said, and he said as far as the LSU job, he doesn't plan to leave Texas A&M. Key word in my opinion, plan.
So the funny thing
Plans
about that
can be
is
broken.
Somebody on Twitter put up a screenshot of when he was at Florida State, and they asked, was he going to leave Florida State? He said the exact same quote. I don't plan to leave Florida State. I love Florida State. Next thing you know, A&M hands him all this money. He's at A&M, right? And so,
first thing I saw when I saw his comment, I harkened in on that. I mean, I focused in on that plan. I don't plan.
I mean, when
it wasn't, I'm not leaving Texas A&M.
I think,
and maybe I'm nitpicking.
I know.
Am I nitpicking
this is what I do know. You won't win a national championship at A&M.
You say what?
You won't win a national championship.
Well, playing at SEC.
I mean,
like what they're building. I like what they're building.
But it's just something about A&M that as Eddie alluded to earlier about, talking about the baseball and the baseball gods just won't let the Dodgers go. It's something about A&M that the move to the SEC has not just been that great for them, right? They still a third place team. I mean, Johnny Manziel had them hot for a minute or whatnot, but at the end of the day, Missouri has won more conference championships in the SEC than A&M has. Missouri, first 2 years they came in, they won their side of the division, right? Lost in the SEC championship game to Auburn one year, the year that Auburn went to the national championship. But A&M is just something about the recruiting here where you can't always recruit against certain guys and build a national championship team at A&M. LSU is been built for a national championship, right? You just gotta. Orgeron, as good as a recruiter as he was, I don't think as a head coach he was able to use all his recruiting tactics to get the kids you usually get as a position coach, right? That's a whole difference. That's a totally big different thing as a head coach recruiting opposed to me being a position coach going and recruiting. So I think Jimbo Fisher, with his offensive pedigree, with his coaching style, with his being at LSU before, it's different than Orgeron because Jimbo Fisher is actually a true head coach. Where Orgeron is a really good rah-rah guy.
Yeah, he is. Right? He is.
And good for the program or whatnot. Jimbo Fisher go to LSU and they can play for a national championship.
I totally agree with that.
A&M, the money is too much and the expectations now are too much, and you will lose 2 games every year.
And then the thing with A&M is, you have to – now, they left the Big 12 so they would not – have to recruit against UT, and they thought maybe that they would get more recruits, more big-time recruits, because they're playing in the SEC.
Well, they knew
so they got away from UT.
Too.
Right.
I mean,
they got away from UT.
You basically had to step away from Texas.
Well, the money for sure.
If they were in the Big 12, I don't think anybody would be down. They'd probably be the best team in the Big 12.
Absolutely, they would be.
Right.
Absolutely,
Oklahoma would be shaking in their boots.
But of
having
course,
to see them every year.
Right.
Exactly.
Of course, the money. We've talked about that before ad nauseum, but it was to get away from UT. And in essence, more money would come because of the fact that you're in the SEC and you have more things to offer.
You got a TV contract.
You have a TV contract and things, So the thing about it is, though, with A&M, you're going up against Bama, even though LSU is as well.
Yeah.
Even though LSU is as well. But recruiting in Texas, you have to compete against UT.
Right.
And now Steve Sarkisian, even though Texas, at this point, they've lost some games that they probably should have won, I'm sure Steve Sarkisian is going to be a great recruiter. At LSU just seems to have it to where they're getting anybody they want out of Louisiana.
Well, I was going to say, first and foremost, you are
which is
the
a great football state.
You are the flagship university of the state, right?
Absolutely.
And so you're going to get the top out of the state.
The
right?
top
You know you're gonna get the best out of Louisiana, right? And so knowing that you can recruit your own home. And they're coming to you with half them kids. You don't even have to offer a scholarship.
They're coming
they want
there
to go
anyway.
to LSU, right? They just love it so much, right?
But
so you can win a national championship at LSU
Well, the thing about
before you
LSU
can A&M, like you said, especially with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league now.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna recruit against Texas, but I'm not gonna do it on Texas soil.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go to LSU and know that Texas
Well,
can't come to my state.
Well, why you think A&M, when Texas were trying to get into the SEC, which they still may at some point, why you think A&M, that was the only president, the president from A&M was the only one that was against that?
Of course.
Because he left. That's why he left.
That's
now,
why
we
he
talked
left.
about that ad nauseum.
Right.
So that's the thing. But the thing about LSU is they always have the talent. Like you were saying about Jimbo, being able to get that quarterback in there. Now, granted, Ed Orgeron just won a national championship in 2019.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see what
here's what
Jimbo
I'd like to say
decides
about
to
that.
do. Is he gone?
He's gone.
Okay, so that's it.
I don't know. I mean, they could pretty much have their pick, though. I mean, they're going to go coach shopping, and I don't know if they're just going to set their sights on Jimbo.
No,
and
I don't
say
think so
that's
either.
it. And then if you're
That's
Jimbo
just a name
Fisher,
that's out there right now.
I hear everything you're saying about Texas A&M, and it's so true because it's how I look at that team every single year. It's like they have all the talent in the world. We'll talk them into the top 5
Eddie always says that
preseason,
about 'em.
but then
he does.
they're always going to disappoint
They're
you.
always gonna lose that game that.
But then they're going to beat. But they're going to beat Alabama. Here
I know.
and there. I mean, that's just
They're always going to lose two
that's
every
what
year.
they do.
Yeah,
But
at least two. At
I
least
really
two.
feel like Jimbo getting over there, it's taken him season or two to kind of get things going. But to me, they're a quarterback away. And you talk about that. You talk about that national championship that LSU won.
Joe Brady, does he go back?
I don't know.
No. Man,
But I mean,
don't-
they
I don't
didn't.
know.
They weren't sniffing a national championship until Brady turned Burrow into the first round,
Right.
pick
True.
from
Right.
the NFL draft.
True.
Coaching.
Okay.
Coaching.
So once you get that quarterback, Calzada's not it over there at A&M.
And Jimbo
Right.
will be able
Once
to
you
do
get
that.
that quarterback in house,
But he's
then
not-
all of a sudden it's a whole different ball game. Because you have that guy.
Well, LSU always have the talent. If you look at LSU, like the same thing I said about Georgia and Alabama, LSU looks. They look similar to that when you watch those guys. They're just always a quarterback away. Other than that national championship year.
This is the one reason that he's gonna go to LSU and not stay at A&M. You can lose one football game at LSU and still make a national championship. You can't at A&M.
I mean, like you're saying, they're going to lose two anyway.
Right.
They're going to lose two anyway.
But you can lose to Alabama at LSU and still fight for the
Absolutely.
championship. But you can't lose to Arkansas at A&M and still have a chance.
You don't have that pedigree.
You don't
You don't have that pedigree. You don't have the pedigree. Hey, you know what? That's a great point. You don't have the pedigree, so that's why I said he plans.
Yeah.
He plans to stay at Texas A&M.
So now the question is, who would take the A&M job if he leaves, right?
Oh, it'd be,
And so
trust me. I
that's-
think I still think. Now we can say we want about A&M and I bashed them before too about I don't really believe in them to that degree because of what you're saying. They're always going to lose at least a couple of games,
Right.
and that happens every year. But that's still a great job to have. So if that job comes open, that's a great job to have. And maybe there's another coach who feels like they can be that coach that gets them over the hump to where they get all the talent they need from Texas
Right.
and then everywhere else, and they can beat an Alabama, or they can win, or they can go undefeated, or maybe just lose one game in the
but
SEC.
how does recruiting change now? Remember, because as a kid, you like, hey, I go to A&M, I'm in the SEC, right?
Yeah.
Well, now 2 years from now, you like, hey, I go to Texas, I go to Oklahoma, I go to A&M, I'm in the SEC. So does A&M get those kids still, right? Because now Oklahoma and Texas kind of
But that's why
they peel.
That's why I said they
everybody
don't-
got the patch on their jersey.
That's
now,
why I
right?
said they do not want them in there.
Right. But it's already, they already coming.
Are they? Oh, so that's
It's a done deal.
finalized.
Yeah. It's a done deal. That's why I
Well,
said
they have to go for what they know.
That's why I say Jimbo is like, I can go to LSU and recruit against Texas, Oklahoma, and A&M in the SEC because once again, everybody in Louisiana
gonna own the
loves
boot.
LSU.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna stay
Yeah.
in the boot, right? But I can't stay at A&M. Now I'm taking my recruiting ground and dividing it by 4. Right? LSU, A&M, Oklahoma, Texas all pull out of some part of Texas pretty much.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Especially Oklahoma.
And so now you don't have a fertile recruiting ground. Now you really in war. So now, like you said, you go to LSU. I know LSU is staying home. Now I just got to get 2 kids from Texas as opposed to 10, right?
2 great ones.
Well, I still feel like
So
A&M,
we'll see.
A&M dominates Houston when it comes to recruiting.
do.
I mean, they've missed on some quarterbacks. I mean, but they've had guys in house. I mean, they had Kyler Murray.
But
You
especially
know?
since
I
Mac
mean,
Brown has left UT. Especially
yeah,
since
absolutely.
then.
I mean, back then it was
It was all
Everybody
UT.
was going to UT. When I was a kid, UT was my favorite college just because
Yeah, I remember you saying
they were the
that.
Horns. That's it.
Right.
A&M was nothing
Right.
compared to them. You know, not that I knew anything at
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9 years old, but
Right.
you know, it was all about the Longhorns, and
Yeah.
you know that has shifted tremendously
Hey.
since Mac Brown has moved on, and now you know he does a pretty good job over there in North Carolina.
Absolutely. So everyone is chasing the money
Now,
in the
is
SEC,
anybody
obviously.
gonna ask to interview or talk to Luke Fickell?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, at
Maybe
what
a
point is
protein.
he? At what
Maybe a
point
protein.
does is he going to be on the short list of guys interviewed at LSU?
Real quick.
But why does
Maybe
he
so.
leave? though?
Or
Maybe
if
so.
if Jimbo leaves A&M,
But why does he leave? Because
think he can build a
now
great legacy
we're
over
going
there?
to the Big 12, right?
So y'all are going to the Big 12.
Yeah. So if Cincinnati
Still
is
no
moving to a
championship game
Power
over there.
5,
I said there's still no championship game over there.
but I mean, do you have to have one?
Well,
I mean, they might be able to write him a pretty big check and a
it
big
depends on who you're
contract.
competing against.
Who will?
It depends on who you're competing
a bigger
against.
school than Cincinnati.
Yeah.
let's
But
say,
the
like,
thing
you know,
about
Power-
Pickle
It
is
depends on who you're competing against for that final spot. So that Big 12 championship, it comes into play every season. Now this year, of course, if you all win if you win your championship in the conference you're in, you're
Right.
in anyway. You're gonna go undefeated.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
But you go to the Big 12 and you're up against a team that's played in the Big 10 championship, and you're both vying for that fourth spot in the playoffs.
Right.
They're gonna take that team
No, but what I'm saying
if they
is,
win.
Fickle is coming from the mindset that he can't make the playoffs anyway.
Okay, I got you.
So if you go to the Big 12 and you know you at least got a shot just because you're in a conference.
Okay. Well,
you know what I'm saying? So Cincinnati has to win.
it's a more respectable conference.
Yeah. Cincinnati
Yeah, I mean,
right
of
now
course.
has to win 24 games to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's 2 seasons.
Well, here's the thing.
At the Big 12, if you go undefeated, now you're just looking at the Pac-12 and you're looking at the SEC just to make sure they don't get 2 in, and you basically in because the
Yeah.
ACC has nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so,
That championship
like
game
you
was
said,
still.
and plus Luke Fickell is an Ohio guy,
I know he is.
so you can't come to the South and you're
Well,
not
the
recruiting
thing about it,
same,
too,
you're not building the same.
As long as he has a game or two on this schedule every year at UC where he plays a top 10 opponent, like he played Notre Dame,
Well, like I
and they
said-
win those games and they run the table, he may want to stay in Cincinnati and just build his legacy there. He
Why
may want to
would
do
I
that.
leave?
But
I mean,
a lot
Kirk-
of people covet big name schools and big name jobs. And of course, we know money talks and you
Yeah.
know what walks.
Yeah.
You know what walks. So we shall see. But right now, he's doing a tremendous job. Now, will he go to the NFL? The Bills and the Titans. Not will he go to the
No.
NFL, but we go to the NFL. He may go to the NFL.
No.
But we go back to the NFL.
Luke Fickell is Gary Patterson's TCU.
Gary Patterson, man.
Luke
Do not get me started on
Gary,
TCU.
Gary Patterson took them from the Mountain West. They went to
He did.
85 different conferences before they finally got to the Big 12, and he's still there. And I just think that's where Fickell is with Cincinnati.
He
Cincinnati's
said-
gonna keep
I mean, he
paying
might
them money.
be.
I mean,
He
just to
may-
put it
where
in,
they're going to up the money.
just to
Yeah.
put it in perspective, so he makes $3.4 million
Yeah,
a year,
they're
which,
gonna up
which
the
is
money.
still it's still a
pretty
nice
decent.
salary.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you go and look at his
gonna make at least 5 to
Ohio
7.
counterpart Ryan Day,
Yeah.
Ryan Day is bringing home 6.6, so he
There
pretty
it
much
is.
double his salary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he goes to the playoffs this year, I'm sure that goes to $5 million.
Of course, Ohio State
Yeah.
has the money to throw his way as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see what kind of money UC has to throw his way that will actually keep him there because he's definitely going to have some offers.
Or like you said, is
We
it
know
more
that.
likely where he goes to the NFL and he builds his program,
Yeah.
a traditional way where
He
you
may
don't
want to go
have
to the NFL.
recruit, you draft guys.
We don't need another
And he
Urban
tried
Meyer
to take a
incident.
step, and he tried to, well, we're going to talk about that in a second. I'm glad you brought that up. And he take a step out of the coaching Tennessee's, to take a step out of his book.
Tulane or Vrabel.
Yeah, Vrabel. He take a step out of his book, and he be like, hey, let me go to the NFL and do what my friend Mike Vrabel is doing.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with Kingsbury there.
Well, Kingsbury, well,
was
yeah,
another
we can talk about him too. But maybe Fickell does that, where he does what Vrabel does. And what do you think about Vrabel in that victory last night against the Bills?
A tremendous win for them.
I know,
I
right?
really didn't think they had a chance in that ball game going into it. I told my buddy you can bet the house on the Bills. I mean, I was on point with the Bills beating the Chiefs, who are off to, for them, a horrific start.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're going to be right in the thick of things later on in the season if they can get that defense.
That was
right.
a good
They-
win against
Tennessee
Washington.
is always a problem if you allow them to hang around and hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. If they can continue to hand the ball off, if the game is
And they
close
do
enough for them to
continue to
hand the
do
ball
that.
off to that dude, they are always going to play. And the Bills, you can't out-throw Derrick Henry, right? Like, he's going to score, he's going to chunk yards.
But he's going to wear
And-
down the defense.
And he's going to wear them down pretty much.
And then he's going to, and what he did last night, his running ability open up the passing game, the play-action passing
Right.
game. So it's going to open up things for Ryan Tannehill, a guy that's very – and the Bills did not get that pass rush on him last night like I thought they would.
Right.
And they were kind of soft on defense, but then they did not get any pressure on Tannehill,
Well, that's
a
what
guy
happens
who's
when you're
very
getting
elusive.
beat up with a 260-pound battering ram time after time.
And that
after
opens
time.
up everything.
I
That opens
mean,
up everything.
There was an article I read about
They're
it.
4-2
Every
now.
time there was a collision with Derrick Henry, it was like thunder was striking at the stadium.
Dude,
You know,
what is he,
it's a car
6'3",
crash.
like 260,
It's a car
270?
crash.
And he's the fastest guy on the field.
Yeah.
Hands
Outruns
down.
everybody. Hey, so great win by them last night. Again, the Chiefs actually were able to get back on track, beating the Washington football team. I don't know what's going on with the Washington football team. I know they're not settled at the quarterback position. But to be honest with you, and not to spend too much time on this is just my thinking, out-the-box thinking right here. I don't think not knowing your mascot name helps your psyche by any means. So I think they're like, give us a name so we can know who we are. We have some kind of damn identity.
You are the Washington football
The Washington
team.
football team. I don't think that's helping them by any means. But of course, and then what is going on with the Texans? Now the Texans, they've cut Merciless today.
Yeah, Merciless was handed his walking papers. I think I got the notification for it last night. It said to be a mutual parting of ways, so I don't know if he went to ownership or went to Caserio, but it seems like he wanted to try to get out of town and go play somewhere else while he still has a chance. He's been leaked to several other teams, the Chiefs being one of them. They need help tremendously with their pass rush. Frank Clark has not been able to get the job done for them this year. And you can tell that defense, it struggles tremendously on the back end whenever they don't have
I told
that
you last
pass
week,
rush.
Sorensen should be benched.
I mean, Sorensen's had a lot of issues back there, but you can't give guys all day to throw the football. I mean, they're not built to be strong on the back end. They're built to be strong on
Chris
the front
Jones
end.
coming back will help, right?
And definitely, that's definitely going to be a big boost. But he's been a guy that's been in and out of the lineup for
Right.
the past couple years.
Right.
So how much
Right.
can you depend on that guy? I think Whitney would fit in over there. To be honest, it's hard to give you an assessment of the Texans and what they're doing because it's not. None of it really makes any sense.
Well, you know they're cleaning house, and you
know.
know they're rebuilding for next year. You know they're cleaning house right now.
I mean,
if they're
the,
not,
the
you have to start
timing
playing these
doesn't
young
make
guys.
sense. You know, I can understand if you cut Whitney Merciless, he has
At the beginning of the season, you should have cut him.
The timing right now, I don't understand what they're doing. I don't think they've even made up their minds yet. If when Tyrod
What have
Taylor
I
comes
always
back,
told you about
do
the
they want to
Texans?
win or lose? But the way they played,
Do they make
the
a stupid
decisions that they
decisions?
made?
They don't.
I told you, I think when you texted me, I think it was you who I texted back and said, honestly, I don't think the Texans are trying to win right now.
Yeah,
and
you
it
did
just
take-
looked like, as a whole, they just weren't trying
That's
to win.
the point I've always been making about them as far as their decision
And it's not the
making.
players, it's the management.
Of course. So if that's the case, they need to go ahead. So obviously the move today signals that they're going to go ahead and start cleaning house. And you're going to play some of these young guys and see what you have. Of course, there's going to be a lot of turnover next year as well. The thing about it is, I think David Culley, the more I'm checking out David Culley, I was glad he got his spot. And I was glad he got his shot at 65 years old to coach the Texans. It seems like more and more now that he's just a rental guy, that he's just there maybe for this season. And I would not be surprised at all, especially the way the Texans operate. I would not be surprised at all if they ousted him at the end of the season and they went for some big name hire, whether it be from college, whether it be Luke Fickell, thinking he can come in and do what Mike Vrabel was able to do at Tennessee. I would not be surprised if they moved away from Culley after this season.
At least Vrabel got some coordinator experience at the NFL level.
He did.
I don't know. Coley is in there because Coley's going to be a guy that's going to smile. He's going to put on a good face.
True.
He's going to say what you want him to say. As long as you can keep him from going off all willy-nilly every now and again.
Says a lot about their thinking.
He's a placeholder right now while they're going to go through
there it is.
It's going to be a tumultuous rebuild.
But how can you sit on a coach when you got this dark cloud of Deshaun Watson sitting
Well, that's
on
the
your
thing.
head?
He's just there He's just there until they trade Deshaun Watson to get a boatload of draft picks. Then they're going to get the coach that they want to help build that team, like a Jimmy Johnson.
That makes sense. but you sabotaged the year before the year started, right? The way you handled the Deshaun Watson situation let us know that, okay, yeah, you brought Tyrod in, but like you said, everybody's placeholders. Right, so you just basically said at the beginning of the season, all right, if Deshaun is not going to be our starter, we're going to tank the season. We're going to bring a guy in that's serviceable, right? We got a coach that's serviceable, right? Hopefully we get the first round draft pick next year, clean house, and just start fresh over with everybody.
I think that Deshaun Watson
In this division,
I think the Deshaun Watson
division's
fiasco
not that good.
I think the Deshaun
Jacksonville
Watson
is just as bad.
Yeah, they are. They are. And,
Texas,
yeah,
right?
we're going to talk about them in a second. I think the Deshaun Watson fiasco, I don't think that help matters as far as, even though I've always been on record saying that they're not going to make the most astute decisions. They haven't been in the last few years. So nothing really surprises me. It's all speculation about what's going on with Deshaun right now. No one knows. So I'm not surprised at anything the Texans do. You would think that they would have cut Winston Merciless at the beginning of the season because he had his worst year last season. So if you know you're going to move on, you cut him. Now he's having an okay season.
Right.
So it's obvious that you're trying to rebuild, and but you have to start playing some of these young guys. But I just think David Culley is a sitting duck right now. I think he's a lame duck. I really do.
I mean,
he's fun for the media.
I've heard him compared to the likes
if
of,
they're serious about winning.
I've heard him compared to Dave Campo. Well, you remember Campo? When
Of
he got
course
the
I
job
do.
At Dallas,
Of course I do.
It's a guy. You'll never forget what Culley said when they hired him. You know, why'd you take this job? And he said, well, there's 32 of these things, and they asked me, so I'm here. You know,
I was born, but it wasn't
and
yesterday.
you know, Cal
Right.
was just probably like, man, like, can you at least lie? You know?
Right.
But the thing about it is, you know, I'm not so sure that Houston mishandled the Deshaun Watson situation. A lot of that falls on Deshaun for me. You know, because he could be out there playing right now, and I guarantee you, if he walked in the building and said he was ready to suit up and play, or had he done that maybe 3-4 weeks ago, he would have played, and they would have played him. And because you put him out there and play him, all of a sudden everybody around the league is seeing, you know, what he can do and how talented he is, how he's carrying a team with minimal talent to victories in games they shouldn't be winning in.
Yeah.
Hell, if Tyrod Taylor can make
know-
them competitive, imagine what Deshaun Watson would have been able to do.
Come on.
And even if you wanted to get him out of town, you know, the shrewdest of you know, deal makers, they're going to put up with the backlash that you're going to get momentarily for playing him, just so you can get maximum value for him whenever
Right.
you send him out of town. So to me, I mean, you can blame the Texans. You can say they bungled it. Maybe they did on some aspects of it. But when it comes to Deshaun Watson being available to play, that falls at the feet of Deshaun Watson.
No.
He refuses to play, and that just puts the
Yeah, well,
Texans
that's
in
a whole
a tremendously difficult
Yeah,
spot.
hey, though, that's a completely different conversation. Now, we've had that conversation for sure.
Because to
And
me,
I'm not-
mishandling
I'm not
Deshaun
blaming the
would have been
Texans.
sending him out of town for
Yeah,
a first-round pick
and I'm not
a
blaming
handful
the
of seconds.
Texans.
Well, no, I mean,
everything
just to get
no.
rid of
But I
him.
just mean for as them the totality of their decision making as a whole,
you
even
knew he
before
wasn't
the
gonna
Deshaun
play.
Watson situation,
You knew he
and
wasn't gonna
even
play.
leading up to the Deshaun Watson situation as far as the charges.
Yeah, but you
I
know
mean,
he was
even
gonna
leading
go
up to
get
that.
nasty on you, and then make it almost impossible for you to trade him.
Right,
Yeah.
you knew he wasn't going to
But-
play.
but the thing is,
and
too,
so the
and
thing
again-
is, do you want to sabotage his career and sabotage your franchise at the same time?
That's the question I've been asking about
right?
the Texans.
and that's what happened.
That who knows?
Right? Like you flushed him down the toilet and the tissue was on your hand too, and you going down the toilet with him, right? Like what are we doing? Like in a division where you already know one team is sorry, Jacksonville. They just won the first game in freaking 23 games or something the other day, right?
Yeah.
You should have lost.
Right. You got the Colts.
So, hey, once they get one, they're going to get two. They're going to beat Seattle this
Right.
week.
So-
I said it last week. When they win one, they're going to win two in a row.
You in a division
Jacksonville winning this week.
where basically you playing the Titans, right? So
Well, the Colts have been playing a lot better.
yeah, the Colts are decent, but I mean,
Well, they're
going
gonna
to
be
where
real
you
good.
can compete, especially with Tyrod Taylor. So when you knew you signed Tyrod Taylor, now you got to say we got to get this dark cloud of Deshaun Watson out of here,
Well, here's the thing.
and you don't. And so now you.
Well,
have
we don't know exactly if Deshaun Watson wants to stay. Obviously, he says he wants to go. So that's the thing. We're speculating about what's really transpiring as far as Deshaun Watson because we haven't heard anything from Deshaun Watson. Obviously, the case not being resolved is keeping a lot of things in limbo. So they can't, even if they wanted to trade him because he's requesting a trade or demanding a trade, it's not any teams that's going to mortgage their future not knowing the outcome of this case right now. So everything is in limbo right now, and it's kind of hard to say what the Texans are really thinking. What we do know is that they definitely want to start from scratch. I don't dislike
have
Davis
to.
Mills.
If they trade
I don't
Deshaun
dislike
for
Davis
three,
Mills.
three, and you know a handful of
Well,
other
the talent
picks,
is never
then
there.
you have to say, okay, well then they handled this the right way because they stood by their guns.
They're
where
gonna
a
have to
lot of
get
other
maximum
people
value.
Would
Yeah.
have gotten cold feet and went ahead and just moved him, you know, for pennies on the dollar.
No.
Just to get him
Now,
out of the
now
building.
that's an astute
Right,
decision that
right,
they're making.
yeah,
right.
But again,
But who wants him
yeah,
down, though?
see, well, that's
Who
what I
wants him
just
down,
said.
though?
Because they don't even know the resolution. So why are they going to mortgage their future?
Yeah, who wants him
Oh,
down,
well, they
though?
don't know
Well,
if
I
criminal
guarantee
charges
you-
are going to be
I
brought.
guarantee you that the team that just got their asses
Oh, some people want
handed
it.
to them
Some people want it.
by Jacksonville and former Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer, they could use Deshaun Watson tremendously because they
it's
suck
38.
right now.
It's 31 teams in the NFL could use them, to be honest, right?
Well,
Like,
you know Deshaun Watson is a superstar.
yeah.
But I mean, I feel like they would probably, the way their season's going, just last year we talked about Miami.
You thought they would
late,
just get rid of him.
They were
Just get
they
rid of
were
him.
on this trajectory that looked like Miami was headed to be a perennial playoff team.
Right.
You know, they broke it down. They did a rapid rebuild. They brought in a bunch of draft picks. They traded Tunsil. Forget who else they traded. They bring in guys that fit their system, and they draft guys that they want to move forward with. And they were pretty good last year. You felt like, you know, they were headed in the right direction. It could end up being a dominant team. And then now this year, you're off to a 1-5 start. You're horrific. And none of that seems to be
That's
true
why they were just
anymore.
blowing it up.
Right.
And a lot of it has to do with, you feel like, you know, inconsistency at the quarterback position, whether
Yeah.
it's because of injury
Yeah.
or just because of the development or lack thereof of Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Dolphins.
Exactly.
And
With the
but the total offense, though.
Well,
But
right?
you add Deshaun Watson to the mix there, and all of a sudden,
Yeah, well,
things change.
yeah. I mean, they do. He just makes the team better when he first walks through the door. You know, Deshaun Watson is going to be that guy
I mean,
with his
you
talent
see how
and
bad
his
the
competitive
Texans
nature.
are without him.
Well,
Right.
you do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've said it all along. I thought he should have been the first pick in the draft the year he came out of college. But hey, so the Texans now they're in a position where they're losing their franchise quarterback for a variety of reasons. The way that he thought that they treated him leading up to the incident with the women. So
But
everything
where do you
has just
go?
gotten discombobulated with the Texans ever since ever since they lost that game to the Kansas City Chiefs where they blew that 24-point lead. Things have been going downhill for the Texans ever since then, in my opinion.
But where do they go, right? You have a franchise quarterback that's young. You think about the draft this year. Who's the
I
quarterback
don't
that
see
you'll
that
take
guy.
out of the draft?
They're not drafting. If they're not
You know
drafting a
what?
quarterback this coming season,
To
I'm
be
willing to
honest
say
with
it
you-
right now.
Right.
To be honest with you,
if I had to bank on it first round,
Right.
no matter how many picks
I don't see
they
nobody
have,
that just stands out
if
right
they have
now.
And
2
I'm
3
with
picks,
you on that.
they're not drafting
So
their
that's what I'm
quarterback
saying.
then.
So-
I don't
where
dislike
do you
Davis
go,
Mills.
though?
They're
I
getting
don't
them young
dislike
guys
Davis
in.
Mills.
That's why Culley's going to be there another
I
year.
don't
They're going
dislike
to get them
Davis
young
Mills.
guys in. They're going to suck again for another year.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
the
so
year
they'll get
after
one
that,
more year.
And then they'll draft their
Make him
quarterback.
money for
Look,
another year. Make him look, hey, stack some more paper for another year, Cullen.
I mean, if you're looking at what they're doing now, clearly, you know, I'm not even sure if they figured out exactly the route they want to go to do
Right.
this rebuild, whether it was going to be a complete tear down and
Right.
rebuild, which
Right.
at first
Right.
it didn't look like it was going to be that way, and now they're kind of leaning that way as guys are, you know, constantly being shown the door.
Yeah, because they see they're 1-5 now. They were going to test it out to see what they could get out of Davis Mills. Tyrod is hurt. We see how they were competing before that. So before he got hurt, things looked promising for their season. Now that things have just snowballed in the sense to where they know they have no shot at a playoff berth. It's like, let's just go ahead and blow it up now. Let's get rid of Wynton Merciless, and let's just move on and do what we have to do. Now, with the Deshaun Watson situation, we'll see how that plays out. But the fact that they're sitting at 1-5, they woke up after Sunday's game like, okay, let's just move on.
To
Right.
me, there's just like, I think there's a lot of underlying issues that we, as, you know, just fans and people who follow the team on the outside, we don't see and we aren't privy to and don't know what's going on in there.
Absolutely.
Because it just doesn't make sense. There's a complete disconnect to me, in my opinion, a complete disconnect between the locker room and the management of the team. You know, because these
It's been that
guys-
way for a while.
I feel like these guys were being brought in here on one-year deals. They're like, hey, you're going to compete. You know, we're going to try to win games. We're going to do this, that, and the other. And then now it's like, okay, well, the Texans have suddenly changed their mind.
Right.
And now the locker room they don't even know where to go from here.
Right.
You know what it boils down to with the Texans and their organization? And I think this had a lot to do with Deshaun, even though he made it a point to state how he didn't like the way they were not including him in things such as he didn't see the talent on the team. They need to acquire as much talent as possible. That goes without saying. Of course, if you get rid of Deshaun Watson. But I think originally, then you get rid of DeAndre Hopkins. I think originally it wasn't just about him feeling like he was mistreated. He's feeling like he's mistreated with the talent that's around him.
Yeah, I was gonna say that season that he played, he was the team. Right. Everything they did.
That's what I
was
told
him.
Eddie. I say, trust me, he doesn't want to come back. Not just because of that, because he doesn't see the talent.
And
Yeah.
a lot of it had to do with when this team was at a crossroads, okay, where this organization was going to decide who was going to lead them, you know, into the golden area of what would be Texans football. You think the prime of Deshaun Watson's career should equal golden era for the Houston Texans, right? So when they decided to make this decision and they bring in a general manager, they bring in a head coach, Deshaun Watson sees that a guy, his name's Jack Easterby, that a guy who is not qualified to be as heavily involved in making certain types of decisions with the organization, he sees that guy has the ear of the owner,
Right.
and that can turn the owner from making a decision that, that he paid, what was that management company or evaluation company that they use to decide all the candidates for GM and head coach, whatnot. I forget what they're called. They paid millions of dollars for that to get that information, and Jack Easterby was still able to swing, or sway Cal McNair into hiring one Nick Caserio, which Nick Caserio is not
thing that rubbed a lot of
bad
players the wrong
general
way.
manager. It's
Right.
not that.
Right.
It's that they know, or Deshaun Watson, who we're talking about here, he knew, he could see that the best football decisions weren't always going to be
Absolutely.
made. It was going to be Jack Easterby at any time could go in there and sway Cal at the last minute and have Cal change the direction of where the franchise
He
is
had
going.
no input on the head coaching position.
And I think to your point earlier, I think the year that we saw Deshaun Watson ball out, I think probably even after that year, they said, hey, we're going to tear this thing down and build back up around you. And I think Deshaun was like, hey, go get some veterans in here for me. Don't put me on the field with all these rookie receivers and these rookie guys and let me shoulder the brunt, because at the end of the day, we won't be competitive.
Right.
And I'm end up losing my golden years while you rebuilding around me.
Yeah, or if he gets
Well, I
hurt,
said,
the biscuit
the
wheels
talent
come
was
right
a-
off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the talent, the lack of talent, plays a lot in
But
the way
that's
Deshaun
huge
is thinking.
for I think an NFL player, even like we talked about the locker room as a whole, to have confidence that at the very least the people making the decisions, they may not be the decision that you would make or agree with, but you have to have the feeling that that person's making that decision because they genuinely believe that it is the best.
They have the best
thing.
interest of the team at heart.
Absolutely.
But as the quarterback, you should also be able to walk in there and be like, hey, man, I want that receiver.
And that's what he wanted to do.
Can you do whatever you can as a general manager to go get that guy? You
That's
don't
what he
already
wants to
send
do.
Hopkins
Hey,
away,
right.
right?
Well, Deshaun is sitting home collecting millions and millions and millions right now. Hey, so let's talk some NBA real quick. Real quick. Unless there's any other NFL game you want to talk about. I like what the Cardinals are doing. What do you think about the Cardinals? Kyler Murray is the real deal, of course.
You get a look at him against Houston.
Against the Texans this week. Hey,
They
so
should put up
they'll be
50 this
7-0.
week, right.
They'll put up. Hey, and they did this without Kingsbury in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland's, Mayfield, I know I was high on him, Eddie. I'm not sure if he's their guy moving forward. If it continues, he may actually be on the outs, and they may be looking for another franchise quarterback to go along with the talent that they have.
Let me tell you
Again,
something.
but it's nothing really coming out of college this year. Maybe through a trade or
Those
something.
biscuit wheels that I speak of, each team
Nice
has them.
commercials, though.
Right,
You know,
right.
Cleveland's is named Nick Chubb, and he hasn't been
And
able to
Kareem Hunt
go.
is injured.
Yeah.
And Kareem Hunt's been banged up now.
Yep.
He came out of the game last weekend. They're a completely different offense whenever all of a sudden now the focal point of your offense becomes Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, you can't put
and-
35 throws on him and
Right,
expect
that's
him to
not
win the game.
that's
I'm
not the
saying
type
that now
of
with him.
quarterback that he is, and
Yeah.
he just
and then that division's too physical, right? You're
It
not gonna
is.
beat Baltimore and
Well, you saw-
Cincinnati
like
and
one had-
Pittsburgh, regardless of what their records ever.
They're going to be
They're
physical.
gonna be competitive and physical in that division.
What
So.
did the headline say? The Ravens unplugs the Chargers. The Chargers, who are my team in the AFC now.
Right.
But the Ravens did their thing against the Chargers. Lamar Jackson is playing at an all-time level right now, MVP pace. So that division right there with the Ravens look very legit right now, what they're able to do. And they were able to take down the Chargers team, who has a poor run defense. And they flustered Justin Herbert as well. So,
Yeah.
of course, the Chargers are going to be good. They're going to be good. I like what they're doing. Of course, Baltimore, they're good. They're always gritty on both sides of the ball. Harbaugh always has his teams physical, and that's exactly what they did against the Chargers. But so I'm liking what they're able to do.
I mean, but unfortunately.
But the Cardinals are going. I like what they're doing on both sides of the ball as well.
But even to the Cardinals' point, with the season being so long this year, right? Remember, we had 17 games this year.
I
right?
know.
Right, 17 that count.
Yeah.
Right, so being 6-0, 7-0 is cute.
But you got a
But
you got a marathon.
You
It's
got a
marathon,
full
not a
season
sprint.
left, right?
Yeah.
Right, and it's always a war of attrition in the NFL, right? And whoever's the most healthiest team at the end, you know, those are the guys that make runs in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So you know, Cardinals are getting a break because Russell Wilson is hurt in Seattle, right? So you're not gonna see a full Seattle team for a couple games. San Francisco is still trying to figure out their rookie quarterback. So, you know, they're going to win some good games right now, but you got to stay healthy week 17, right?
You do. And what I like about the Cardinals, what I like about the Cardinals, to piggyback off what you're saying about the Cardinals, I think they're legit because I like what I'm saying on the defense side of the ball. And Kyler Murray, he's just so special. He's going to give you a chance to win every game anyway. And I like his progression. I like what Kingsbury is doing as far as the play calling. But the weaponry that they have on the offensive side of the ball now. I mean, A.J. Green is still playing at a high level. Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk. Then you have Chase Edmonds at running back to go along with Kyler Murray, who's your best playmaker. And he's like a Barry Sanders playing quarterback.
They added Zach Ertz, who will get
Zach Ertz. And then you got J.J. Watt leading the team and being a great leader on that team. I think he's done something to that camaraderie and to the morale of the team. He's made them believe in themselves. I like what he's doing over there. He's not going to be the J.J. Watt. Now, he did get a sack this past weekend, but he's not going to be the dominant defensive player. But his presence in the locker room has done wonders for that Arizona team.
He's going to make an impact on the field. You still got to block him.
You still got to block him.
He might not dominate you, but
he's still going to bring it. So
like
he's still going to bring it.
Before, it prevents you from, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Chandler Jones.
Absolutely.
It takes, a couple of sinks to stop him.
Right.
But now
he still can play. He still can play.
You can't completely forget about J.J. Watt at the same time. So, that's helped him out tremendously as well. We'll just see if Kyler continues to perform.
We'll see what happens.
At the level that he's performing at. It's setting up to be a tremendous season, an MVP-like season for him.
Right.
I'm just still nervous, because can Cliff Kingsbury keep this level of play up for an entire season?
And that's my question. Cliff has bottomed out everywhere he's been.
But you know what's good about this season, though? They started out so strong. Even if they go through a lull for a couple of games, they're still sitting pretty. I just think they have the team this year, the overall team. I just think they have the overall team on both sides of the ball this year to be competitive.
Division,
if they can win a playoff game,
but you have Russell Wilson out for a few weeks.
Coach of the year.
Coach of the year. He would have to be.
Oh, yeah. I think they're legit.
He would have to be.
But, of course, it's a long season. We'll see how things play out.
We've seen
the Chargers take that L this past weekend.
Right.
We'll see
think about
how they rebound.
Carolina, we were all hot to jump
right
away.
Right.
Carolina now, all of a sudden, they're looking like more closer to mediocre than they were.
Absolutely.
NFL elite.
That is Sam Darnold at quarterback.
Yeah,
right.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt when the season started. I thought he was going to be great.
And the Rams are always going to be right there nipping at your heels, just waiting.
I like the Rams.
Chris McCaffrey is out, too, for Carolina. So we have to take into account.
But somebody had a great point the other day. It was like, Sam Darnold's just really struggling and playing quarterback without Christian McCaffrey. You're like, you mean like the other 31 guys in the NFL who don't have Christian McCaffrey? I thought that was a great point because, there's a handful of these guys, these Dalvin Cooks, Derrick Henrys, that really take the pressure off quarterbacks. Well, what about the 30 other guys that got to play with David Johnson behind them?
But to that point, Baltimore, right? When Baltimore loses their running back,
Dobbins and Edwards.
They reload.
Right, they went out and got two immediately, right?
They reload.
They got Latavius Murray and they got Cook, right?
Murray was huge. I think Murray, and he shouldered a lot of the load.
Yeah.
They brought in Le'Veon Bell. I think he's good for a 2-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, he is.
Right. And that's about it. I saw him dancing.
About 2 yards of carry.
Dancing in the end zone on that.
He's good about 2 yards of carry.
Untouched. I'm like, come on, man. I know you've been waiting for that one a long time, but that was not a pretty run.
I get paid every time I score a touchdown. So whether it's 1 yard, 2 yards, or 99,
going in.
I'm dancing.
Hey, let's talk a little NBA, fellas, before we get out of here. Hey, what's the score of the Astros? The Astros have been what? It has to be the fourth inning right now. At least the fourth inning.
Have they been on?
And by the way, give Deion that Florida State job. Please give Deion that job next year.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that.
No, I'm just saying he's doing great right now. I don't like. Hey, give Deion that Florida State job if he wants it.
I don't think I want him to leave Jackson State.
All right, so
there you go.
It is 2-1 Boston. In the bottom of the second, Boston 1 out with a runner on second. And if you want to look at the NLDS, while it was looking like the Braves were really going to put the clamps on the Dodgers, Dodgers have stormed back. It's now 5-5 in the bottom of the eighth. The Dodgers have 2 outs and a man on third.
You know the Dodgers were not going to go out like Willie Lump with all that talent they have. So it's going to be interesting to see if they pull that off. If they pull that off, obviously they're back in the series and they have 2 more games in L.A. Now, the thing I've always said about Max Scherzer, I watch him all season. He dominates. But what did I say early on in the season, Eddie? I said the only thing concerns me about Max Scherzer is he's so energetic. He expands so much energy. Is he going to have anything left in the playoffs this time? Because he's, 36, 37 years old right now? What kind of energy? Now he seems like he has a dead arm. Now, maybe next game he pitches, he may come out and he may pitch a gem. But it was a rocket home run hit off of him. Yeah, a blast hit off of him, I think it was yesterday. or the last time he pitched. So does he have a dead arm? So we will see moving forward. So the Dodgers are tied 5-5 in that game. Who's going to win in the game between Brooklyn?
Well, right now you got Milwaukee up 81-70 right now.
Oh boy,
it's the third quarter.
What you think about Kyrie not being on the team?
Hey,
we've talked about it ad nauseum in here.
Hey, I'm with it.
That
right?
definitely hinders their chances, right?
I mean, yeah, they you lose a star, you lose a guy. I mean, now the ball's in James Harden's hand all the time. You really don't want the ball in his hand all the time like that,
still
right?
have Harden and Durant.
But they still gonna play. They still gonna play hard, right? You got Harden right now with 17 points. You got Durant right now with 18 points, but they down by 11. And then you got Giannis with 24 points. So it looks like that's a good game going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a long season, and maybe Kyrie will work his way back, and the vaccination thing will be taken care of. But if not, hey, Kyrie's kind of just always been his guy, right?
Yeah.
Like he's been his own man, and from a money standpoint, he's not worried about that, right? And really from a playing standpoint, he's talked about retiring over the last couple years.
Well, I think he's the type of guy. He's the type of guy that probably will do that.
Yeah.
With his stubbornness.
Yeah,
with his stubbornness, it wouldn't surprise me one
like
bit.
That girl that you date, that you argue with her, and if she don't win the argument, she'll go and do something else to try to escalate the situation.
right.
If you don't respond to that, then she gonna go get in the car and go drive down the street all crazy. If you don't respond to that,
try to push your buttons.
She gonna post pictures at the bar with
Absolutely.
wearing hardly anything at all, but just gonna keep escalating things. Kyrie, he always ends up in these sort of issues with his team, and that's kind of why the main reason why
I'm not crazy about the guy.
I wanted no part of Kyrie Irving coming, back to Houston as part of the James Harden deal.
Right.
But I could see things coming unraveled in Brooklyn. If they don't win a championship this year, and then
this is their year if they're going to win it.
And then next year, you've got you're gonna put James Harden into his final year of the deal.
Yeah.
I could easily see James Harden saying, you know what? Just gonna finish off this fourth year and then take my ass back to Houston or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Who knows?
Yeah. He
Now,
might end up with the
now
Lakers.
that they have a young core, or hey, that's
Now, who wins it
another
this year? The Bucks? Do they go back and repeat, or do they get back to the finals?
Man, ask
in
me
the Eastern
after
Conference?
Christmas.
I hear you. It is early.
Christmas,
It is
right?
early, but I like the fact. I like some of the pieces that they've added. So I still think they.
because the thing about it is, when you make a run,
Yeah.
it's a lot of magic in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't put that team together last year to make a run until after the playoffs. After the All-Star break, when they realized that, okay, we need a shooter. And they didn't know what Middleton was going to be. Mm-hmm. Middleton was a true MVP last year, the second half of the season. If he'd have played like that entire season, he would have won the MVP.
I always called him a third call. He proved me wrong last season.
Yeah. And then when he got in the playoffs, he elevated
really
his
turned it
game
up.
to the
He was the
next
go-to
level,
guy.
right?
He was the go-to guy in the clutch.
I think in the psyche, they're going to make the playoffs. Who is that guy that we don't know that can turn it up like he did? Mm-hmm. Because in the psyche, you think you can automatically turn it on, but that's not going to be true because you got a target on your back now, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
you got to be Golden State where guys are proving themselves to play in those conditions that they're going to step up. Mm-hmm. We don't know if Milwaukee can play like that again.
Well, we shall see. I'm going to tell you.
And then Phoenix.
In Phoenix, I like this is a quiet move, a sleeper move right here, and a lot of people will probably disagree with me. Grayson Allen, I thought, was a smooth move by Milwaukee, and I think he's really going to help him.
Right.
Help them on both sides of the ball. I think he can shoot the basketball and he can play some lockdown defense, and he's going to be gritty and grimy.
Right.
So I think that's a move right there that helps.
Yeah, I think that's the X factor that you don't account for.
That you don't account for.
He's going
That
to be
you don't account
consistent
for.
every night, pretty
Absolutely.
much.
And he's a streaky shooter.
Yeah.
He's a guy that can go for 21 night, and he may go cold the next night, but he can give you so many other things as far as hustle plays, and he can make plays for himself and others as well. But I also like the fact that now there's other teams. Ben Simmons, you saw he got kicked out of practice today. This dude, he's trying to force his way, Eddie. He's trying to force his way
Rivers gonna
out
give
of
him what he want. He
Philadelphia.
keep messing with Doc like that.
Hey,
Doc's gonna give him
Doc's
what he
not
asking
going for it. He say, "Hey, get out."
Yeah, Doc's gonna
I
give
like
him
the
what
way
he asking
Philadelphia is
for.
handling that situation. They're not letting him, and I hope they continue to handle it like this. Do not acquiesce to his demands unless you get what you deserve for getting them. You can't give him away for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Other than that,
Because him not being on the floor is not hurting you.
I mean, because he doesn't shoot the basketball.
Right.
So
him
he's
not-
mad because they're
Right.
trying to get him to get better to help the team. He should
Exactly.
want to get better, shoot the three ball. He doesn't want to do that.
Right.
He wants to get in his feelings and walk off the court trying to force a trade. I hope Philadelphia stays put and they do not acquiesce to his demands. I really do.
Right.
Golden State and the Lakers tonight before we get out of here.
Good game.
It's a good game.
It's
a good game. And the Lakers, the only thing that concerns me about the Lakers, they're going to be a great team. They're going to be a great team. I'm not too sure, like you said, wait till Christmas before it really makes it
Right.
quick. But because I want to see Clay come back for Golden State, because I'm not too sure if I'm not going to take Golden State to come out of the West with the addition and with the emergence of Jordan Poole. You get Andrew Wiggins back in the fold from the COVID situation. You get, James Wiseman back in the fold.
If
Clay.
Rondo and Westbrook make it all 82 games, I'll be shocked and surprised.
How does Westbrook?
I would be shocked and surprised if Westbrook and Rondo make it a full
How does
season.
Westbrook fit in with that team? Now, does he learn how to? Well, he's going to have to. He's going to learn how to play off the ball.
That's what I'm saying. Like
With
Rondo,
LeBron and Rondo are going to get the bulk of the
Rondo, the
playmaking.
ball has to be in his hands, pretty much, right? And so
The Lakers are so old on the court, though.
and so
They picked up Avery Bradley yesterday. He had his best year 10 years ago.
Carmelo is going to try his best to be the sixth man of the year,
Carmelo.
right?
I like Carmelo, man.
Right? But I just,
He can give you 12 a game. You let him get his minutes.
yeah, he'll give you a good 12. He can't play no defense, but he's going to give you a good 12. Old
Maybe
man
15
game.
on a good night.
Like I said, the thing is managing Rondo and Westbrook, because
Yeah.
Westbrook is a beast with the ball in his hands, and LeBron likes to be the point forward at times, pretty much, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they figure it out. It's going to look good for the first 10, 11 games, and they're going to be high flying, running up and down the court, and it's going to look good. And then all of a sudden they're going to have that game where, nobody's on, and Rondo wants 15 assists, and Westbrook wants to dribble the ball all the time. And
See, that's the thing. I think Westbrook is going to come in. He knows he has to come in, and he has to fall in line. Anytime LeBron James is on your team and he's the leader, I think Westbrook will come. I think right now Westbrook, at least I would hope, that he's all about winning championships. Now, the one thing about it, I don't know how they're going to space the floor, really, especially with Westbrook, but you can't pass up an opportunity to add
Rondo's
an
not
Hall of
shooting.
Fame
I
player
think
like
you gotta
that.
get the
Rondo not
ball
shooting.
in-
Westbrook will shoot, but he'll brick all game.
I think you got to get the ball in Westbrook's hand.
Right.
Let him run the offense and let LeBron James, sort of teach him. Even though he doesn't, it's kind of hard to change a dog, teach an old dog new tricks.
It is.
But he's going to have to teach him how to operate in this offense because I think they'll operate best if Russell can run the point.
But what does Rondo do, though? Because he's not a shooter.
Well, I don't know how much time Rondo actually gets.
Is he just giving Westbrook breaks?
I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. They're just having some kind of homecoming over there between
I just think
Ariza, Howard,
Right.
Ellington, Bazemore. They're all coming back. to
Ariza
town.
is back
Right.
over there. So again, they have a lot of attrition on those legs, and it's going to be interesting to see how they hold up
Yeah, they might
throughout
be
the
the oldest
year.
team in the history of the NBA. at this
Right,
point
but
in
you
time.
have three superstars in LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis. And, of course, Russell Westbrook is still playing at a high level. And the Lakers' motto the last few years has been, we'll figure it out once you get here.
Right.
So I think Westbrook is going to go in there, he's going to fall in line, and he's going to do what he does. Now, of course, he's not a great three-point shooter, but he gets to the cup. He's going to get to the free throw line. So
I'm saying
that's
if-
going to
if
he's
you got-
a superstar.
If you got Rondo, Westbrook, LeBron, Ariza, and Anthony on the court, you only had 2.5 scores.
Yeah. I know.
That's not enough. Playing a Golden State team, even without Klay Thompson, that's not enough scores on the court for 17 minutes.
Well,
where the points come
Anthony
from?
Davis and LeBron's going to see. I really want to see how much LeBron has left. Now, LeBron will be 37 in December. As great as LeBron is, and of course he had the ankle injury in the playoffs.
At some point
but you
in
can
time.
see at some point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Playing basketball.
I mean, there's a
he's
reason why
going
he
to.
doesn't activate until late in the season.
Right.
And why he'll be
He's
that ultimate
going to have to start dropping off at some
Right.
point.
because he knows he needs his legs.
But
in
you
the
know his
playoffs.
motivation,
Exactly.
and of course we know how hard he works off the court, and he takes care of his body.
Hey,
but
Father Time is undefeated.
right? But you know how he's looking at it? He's looking at it like Tom Brady. He wants to be the Tom Brady of basketball. So LeBron, he's going to put up his gaudy numbers. He's going to do that. But I really want to see what he has left at the end of the season in crucial situations. Can he still take over a basketball game and be that guy that you give the ball to and be like, go give me 10 in a row, LeBron? Is he going to have the legs to do that? Of course, that's why you have Anthony Davis there as well. And that's why you have Russell Westbrook as well. So, and a guy can get to the free throw line. He's going to be relentless. Is he going to fit in with the style as far as he likes to run and gun? He likes to run. So
I've
it's gonna
always
be
felt
interesting
like,
to see.
even on a championship team, like there's still has to be a good balance and mix of veterans and young guys. And I just feel like they're severely lacking there with those young guys. You look at a team like Phoenix last year, you know, you bring in Chris Paul so he could be that veteran
Tucker
leadership,
is injured,
but
right?
you got a young, energetic team that can go the distance, you know. And I don't see that. I don't see that with the Lakers.
Looking at their roster right now, Malik Monk and Wayne Ellington
I like Malik
have
Monk.
to be their saviors.
I like Malik
at some
Monk.
point in time during the season, right?
Nah, but you know what?
Right.
I like Malik Monk.
I like Malik, but once again, what does he fit on the floor?
Right.
If you're trying to get Westbrook,
if you got
Anthony
Westbrook at
Davis,
the
and
point,
LeBron.
and now you got Malik at the 2, where does he fit in scoring? Because Westbrook's
But
going
he's
to
going to be that
thing
spot
to
up
the cut.
shooter. He's going to be the guy that Russell Westbrook
He's a
and
slasher,
LeBron.
though.
He's a slasher, but he can
They
shoot the
really
three.
didn't have
He can shoot the three.
I felt like they really didn't have room for Kuzma, and that's why they end up sending him out of town.
Right,
you know?
right. Now, Wayne Ellington would be the shooter, right? Austin Reeves would be a shooter. Everybody else is just kind of big and in the way right now.
Hey, well, like I said, the Lakers' motto the last couple of years has been get here and we'll figure it out. So is there any other teams before we leave? Let's get out of here. Who do you think challenge? I said Golden State and the Lakers in the West Conference Finals. Of course, we'll talk a lot more NBA, like I like to say, as the season wanes on. Of course, the Houston Rockets, Jalen Green. Can't wait to see him in action.
Phoenix
I
will
think
be
he's
back.
going to be a superstar.
Phoenix
You
will
mentioned
be back.
Phoenix a second ago. Phoenix will
Booker's
be
a
back.
beast. Booker's a
Absolutely.
beast.
Booker and Aiden, they're trying to work out that extension with Aiden right now. Phoenix will definitely be back. And the West is always going to be loaded. Of course, Utah is going to be there.
You kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I got Utah pulled up here on the screen. To me, Utah, this could be the year that they get to the conference finals and sort of
They
kick that
basically-
door
they
in.
the Phoenix of
They've
last
been
year.
right there every year, and there's
Yeah.
an injury here and some poor play here. But Utah, to me, Donovan Mitchell is still just getting better and better
Yeah.
and better,
Yeah.
and that bodes well for them. You know, they got Bogdanovich, who's another real solid piece for them.
Yeah,
I
they
can
have a
see
great
big
team.
things, and of course,
I love Quinn
the
Snyder
best
as
rim
well.
protector in the game.
Yeah, I was
Rudy
going to say, they're
Gobert.
probably one of the best
Absolutely.
coach teams in the NBA.
Oh, they
really,
are.
you
They
know?
are. Year
Like
in
you
and
said,
year out.
if
Quinn
it's
Snyder.
not for an injury or two,
Quinn
them guys
Snyder.
are right there pretty much, you know?
Quinn Snyder, I love Quinn Snyder. Hey, guys, great job. We'll definitely have you back at some point.
Especially if
Appreciate
Phil,
you
Jordan
guys
Clarkson
having me on.
continues
Good luck
to
Jace.
what's that?
Nah,
No, I said
I was going to say good luck to your son.
Oh, I was going to say, especially if Jordan Clarkson for Utah continues to play the way he's
Absolutely.
played,
Oh, yeah.
like sixth man of the year.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, Phil, y'all got anything going on you want to mention?
Basically,
Anything
Pure
coming up?
Sports, Pure Football Academy. Every Sunday, we're training quarterbacks and wide receivers at Clemens High School in Sugar Land, Texas. We train usually from 9
can
o'clock
contact info,
a.m. We're on Twitter at Pure Sports TX, and we're also on Instagram at Pure Sports TX. You'll see all our training times. Also, if you have any interest in having any type of brand management done, which as well, Pure Sports will be happy to help you and find branding opportunities and financial opportunities for you as well as a college athlete. Once again, training is every Sunday at Clemens High School, and find us on Twitter, find us on Instagram as well.
Hey,
Get over there and get a
great
pure
luck with
sports
that.
perspective.
there it is.
Been doing it a long time. The
Told you we
man
had your
knows
back,
what he's
man.
doing.
Yes,
Told you I had your back. Told you we had your back on that. So, hey, good luck with that. Good luck to your son.
Appreciate it.
Great job
Appreciate
today.
it.
Always look forward to having you again next week, Grady.
Yeah, this time
Eddie,
let's not,
great job as
let's not schedule it for 2 years down the road.
Hey, he'll disappear in a second now.
No, I'll be here.
He'll call me and be like, hey G, hey man, hey, I want to come on the show next week. I want to come on the show next week. All right, man, all right. Give me a holler. Then I hear from him like 7 months later.
Hey,
But
coaching, been coaching.
I already know, man. You know I already know, man. You
Been
know how we
coaching.
do. You know
But
how
it's
we
fun
do.
though, man.
It's
It's
all
fun.
love.
You
It's
guys
all
two are the
love.
best in the business.
Appreciate you,
And
bro.
I think this show, and people need to understand that, you know, it's almost like you're in a barbershop sometimes, but at the end of the day,
I
the
tell 'em
knowledge
that's
is the
our
knowledge,
style.
right?
There
Everybody
it
has their
is.
insight on it.
We have our own style.
Yeah, and it's a good opportunity for people to tune in and understand and hear great guys loving what they do.
You
Hey,
get
man,
I feel like you get a
appreciate
true
that.
fan's perspective with us too. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, because we're fans first before we started
Absolutely.
doing anything like this. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
We played the game. You know, y'all at a higher level than I, but you know, we developed a love for the game at a young age, and it's stuck with us until we're adults now. And
Passionate.
Just something about being a fan, you know, you give a real fan's perspective, you're not just a talking head when you do
Absolutely.
that. That's kind of the point
Absolutely.
I'm making.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we have
right.
tremendous passion for it.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is something
yeah.
I've been talking sports since as long as I can talk.
Right.
And reading the sports page and things of that sort. So no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing, I'm going to be talking sports. So may as well do it on the platform. But let's get out of here. The Astros come
Real
back
quick
in.
update: the Astros are batting, or no, they just finished batting in the third inning. It's 2-1 still, but they were able to get out of that jam they were in.
Astros about to win this, so they haven't given up any grand slams, obviously.
No, and then the Dodgers have the Braves down to their final out. It's 6-5 in the top of the ninth. The game being played, of course, in Los Angeles. And they're
This is
just
huge for the
one
Dodgers.
out away from making a 2-1 series.
Absolutely, with all that talent,
With
Mookie Betts, and
2 more games
yeah,
at home.
At home in LA. So hopefully the Astros can go ahead and come back tonight and do what they have to do. I'm going to check out that Golden State Lakers game tonight. Go home and finish seeing what's going on where the Bucks and the Nets will probably be done by the time we get home.
Yep.
Hey, fellas, great job. Let's get out of here. The Sports Court, legends live and let live.
Y'all have a good night.
Sure.